Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone to the March 9th business meeting of the Groh Township Board of Trustees. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance after we tone out here. Okay, let's go to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 7:43. With the entire board is present, we'll conduct business hopefully as advertised. With that, we're going to additions or deletions to tonight's agenda. Okay, with none offered, let's see. Those in favor of approving the agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. The agenda stands as published. With that presentation we've all been waiting for. Ms. Darzniek, for our 2020-2021 fiscal year budget hearing, budget presentation. Just when I had it set up.
I know, now you're messing me up.
I should have
Okay,
set
I
up
think
for you,
I'll
but
be good.
that'll ruin that.
All right, so slideshow, if I start from beginning, I think I'm good. All right. Good evening. Today I'm going to present the March 2021 budget, and we'll go over some slides. I'll be quick because I know we got a long meeting ahead of us, and it's probably the same things people have seen over and over again. I'll just highlight some differences and stuff. The first one is if we look at taxable values, obviously a budget is made based on, the majority of it is based on the amount of taxable value times the millage rate. So you can see that the big turnaround in 2008 was our highest taxable value in the amount of $680 million. I wish it was billion, but million. And you can see how fast in those years. Oh, I just touched the screen. I didn't do it. So in the years from 2008 2011, how fast that fell. Those was the downturn of the economy. So our taxable value went down so fast in 4 years. It was super hard to come back, and it's still we can look at all the time that has passed by. 2020, we're still at 639. So we're not even close, and it's going to take a long time because it will not increase higher than the rate of inflation. So we're looking at this turn. Yes, we are going in a positive direction, but it's going to take a long time to get to where we were. And that's why you see a lot of the communities and stuff, when those downturns went, that they had to do the Headley reduction. A lot of this was due to Headley too. So we had two things working against us. We had Headley and the taxable value falling down at the same time. So obviously things are looking a little brighter. If we look at our township millages, 2013 it was high, and we look at our township millages from 14 to 18, everything pretty much stayed stable. So we're not raising your taxes. If your taxes are going up, it's because your taxable value is going up. It's not because of the millages are being raised. The only way the township can raise a millage is by vote of the people. Actually, in 2019, the millages actually went down, again, due to Headley. We had a Headley reduction. But also because if you look on the next slide, our debt millage has went down because our SSES project, which was over 40 million bonded, is starting to come to a close. 2024, 25, those are going to start coming off the books. So that's going to be a huge millage reduction. So you can see what happened here is that the regular in the purple was the operating millages went down a little bit, as I explained earlier, and we can see that the bond debt for the sewer separation project, that millage on your summer taxes has gone down a little bit. If you look at staffing, we are currently, we have staffing that fall under healthcare and some that fall under retirement. With retirement, if we look in the bottom, there's more retired people than there. So our current staff is 68, including 20. How come? That's crazy that I just touch it. I didn't think it was like touch sensitive. But so if you look at our our current employees and our retired employees, you can see that we are getting to be half and half. There's two different types of retirement. Obviously, we have our MERS retirement, which is our pension. Those numbers are a little higher because they include people who have quit, who have not made their 25 years of service, but they may have retired. To get health care for life, you have to have 25 years of service. So there is a difference on who's on our retirement and who's on our health care. But if we look just currently at the staffing levels here, for full-time employees, this is all the numbers for health care. We have 68 people on it and 42 retired, so it gives us 110 on our medical retirement. And if you look at our MERS, our current staffing is 47, with our retired 56, so we're actually having more retired. We're paying for more retired people than we are currently working, and that's because, again, people have quit, and people are vested that quit after their vesting period, so it's all inclusive for those who are invested and who are currently receiving. Within this budget, we are looking at our wages increase among the employees. Again, we have to remember, we are service. We're service provided. We're not making parts. We are people. That is what we do. Your fire, your police department, your administration. We're 90% people. So if you look at the wages that are incorporated within this budget, there's 1.3% for non-union, which is the cost of inflation, 1.5 for the union, our administrative union, and 1.75 for our TPO union. Obviously, the union contracts that are incorporated in the contracts that have been negotiated with the associate people. If you look over the consumer index 20-year average price of inflation, it's 1.83. So the 20-year average of the employee rates are 2.01, 2.09, and 2.01. So that's what's incorporated in the budget. If we look at employee cost as a whole, we look at the magenta line. Those are actual employee costs based on the W-2s for the year. So in the last 4 years, we started at 3,501 and it's at 3,515. So that's staying stable as well. If we look at healthcare, healthcare was on the rise in 2019. We changed the way our healthcare structure is, and it's actually was a huge savings on the township. So you can see that healthcare has actually gone down. Healthcare is kind of weird to judge because it's based on the population of the people involved. So if we get divorces, if we get new people, if people retire, if people die. So it's sometimes hard to compare, but I still do it. Depending on if we have more families or more single people or whatever, that new people that come on board. And if we look at our MERS retirement, you can see that the MERS is going up pretty steadily, and that's because we've talked about it before. The amortization period went from 30 years, and now it's shrinking down to 20. I think we're at 20 or 21 years. So our mortgage is shrinking over time period, so we have to pay up more, so we have to catch up for the funded and unfunded liabilities. So that continues to raise a little bit, and will continue to do so because of the shrinking of the population, even though we changed our new people on a different plan than the old people. Everyone's talking about our waiver. We just recently got this, and I wanted to include it in the packet. So this is, I was happy that it came with both of them included. So just to read the letter, so every year when we have a problem, we have to file a waiver, and the state of Michigan Treasury has to approve those waivers, so that when we submitted, based on the rule for the following applications, both plans, MERS and OPEB, have been approved. State Treasury determined that the unfunded status is adequately being addressed by your local government, therefore nothing was required at this time. So I just wanted to have that in there, all the misconceptions that are going on, that we're just intending to ignore this. We are not. We are continuing to move in the right direction. If we look at our long-term debt, some things have been paid off. Our building authority, we still have about $1.1 million. That's really the Water's Edge restaurant facility and the township hall that we're sitting in. Those are starting to come to an end as well. So there was a light at the tunnel in 2025, that those will be gone as well. So that's good news. The tax, we talked about before, the tax sewer system is down to 9.7 million, which originally started out at 40 million. So there's a light at the end of the time. I see an end by the time I retire. So that's a good thing. With the Groh Trenton utility, these are all our water mains and sewer main projects. We actually added, previously in the last couple of board meetings, we did add $6 million of new water mains to the township. But in total, the total liability has come down. The judgment bond was part of the sewer project as well. That was at $6 million, now at 3.6. Within this budget are the recent interfund loans to the airport for the runway repairs and the building build out. So those are interfund loans to the township, from the township. Included within this budget are additional budgeted another interfund loan for the pier upgrades to the marina in the amount of $180,000. So total out there is about $32 million. My actual payment within the year is $4.2 million. If we look at general fund budget, the current budget is a little over $6 million. And we look at, obviously, property taxes is 62% of that. And this is general fund only. So we're concentrating a little bit on general fund. We look at our millages for, a lot of the police department takes up our general fund. So this current year, they're budgeted at 89%. It was a little lower. It was stable at 86%. A lot of theirs is due to the MERS retirement. They're the majority of it, obviously, within the township, which is contained in the general fund. And then the total police department. Like I said, a lot of it is that MERS liability that sits there. If you look at expenditures, 62% obviously is taken up by the police department. And these are all the administrative departments within the general fund. If we look at general fund, so this is, if we look at the purple line, it says series. I couldn't figure out how to get that. I should do that. But the first one was our revenues. So if you look at our revenues, they're a little, as the chart said, they're going up slowly, but going up. If we look at our expenditures, pretty much staying stable. And we look at our fund balance, and we'll look at more detail. Fund balance went down in 16-17. Now it's maintaining stable. So here's the detail to that previous chart. Our fund balance right now is about $2.4 million. It's been pretty much, our budget to actual has been pretty much there. We're pretty much breaking even, so we're not accumulating or we're not depleting. The 2 years of depletion were due to some serious major projects, and we budgeted for them. It wasn't like we didn't. We knew we had to do a parking lot, so we budgeted for that. There were some repairs for remediation to the township hall, all that when it was all torn apart. So these were budgeted, and we went into fund balance purposely to do some capital improvements. But that's what fund balance is for, the rainy days, to do things that we need to do. If we look at our general fund history, this is our general fund budget for the last 20 years. On average, our general fund budget increased at 1.63%. I'd be hard pressed to find any communities over the last 20 years that their budget increased 1.63% on average. If we look at budget to actual, so you say, well, you're just doing the budget, you're just making the budget, make it look pretty, make it look, but in reality, the green is the budget, and the purplish is the actual. So unless something majorly happens out of the ordinary, we pretty much budget. So we're not making up the budget. The budget pretty much comes into actual. So as I always tell these guys, sometimes, you know what? It is what it is. And it truly is, if you look how close all this stuff is. I know today that we're going to talk a lot on the agenda about, I know the presentation didn't get into all the specific funds or all the specific areas, but I know rec department's going to be on kind of people are gonna look at, and they're gonna say, well, what's with the budget? Just to let you know that, as far as the rec department, I'm so proud of Kim. When she started 3 years ago, her fund balance was about $7,000. I mean, we were almost at the point where we needed to report to the state or fund it with money, because the state was gonna come back on us and say, you have a deficit fund balance. Well, ever since Kim's here, I'm confident in her ability. She has now have a fund balance around $200,000. So, it's really come a long way. And I just wanted to give her credit for that. We don't talk about it that often, but I just wanted to give her credit. And also, budget books are in the back, and it looks like they're all gone, but we will get them online, and we'll get them available to anyone who wants them. So is there any questions?
Proud of you. Like, quick.
I want to, first of all, I want to, excuse me, thank Mrs. Darzniek for, I mean, she's been in there. I don't know how she has any eyesight left. She's been working on this steady for about the last 4 weeks. Treasurer Van Oss, Trustee Budny, and myself were there for the budget development sessions, went through all the department heads, managers, chiefs, brought their budgets. They were all very well presented budgets. We made a few tweaks, but the managers, all the department heads were aware of what their liabilities were, what their assets were, and brought together a budget that was actually very easy to complete the development of. So we handed those final numbers over to Ann, and she ground them out. We mentioned Headley, and it's so few people who understand the constraints of that. We all, and let me start this, we all took a property tax cut on our homes in 2010, 2011 because of the plummeting of property values. The assessments went down, and they've slowly, only at the rate of CPI for Southeast Mission were they allowed to increase. I want to thank the residents, just offhand, because in that time frame they approved 2 additional millages, a rec millage and another police millage, to allow us to pay the bills. So to you residents out there, you took your pay cut, gave much of it back to us to keep this community running the way you wanted it run. So it's been a shared burden. The employees, the staff, and the residents, we were all working together to keep this community sound. And again, I always default to the guys who really understand money. Standard & Poor's, our bond rating, AA, investment grade, little risk. So I think we've served the residents well. The residents have put their trust in us with their dollars. And thank you for this budget presentation. Any other comments?
Great job, man.
I help thank the managers as well. They do put a lot into it.
Are we going to balance this year's budget as of March 31st?
The numbers aren't in yet. It'll be close. We're still working on them. I got to wait a couple payrolls, couple check runs yet. So.
Thank you.
That'll conclude our presentation. Again, thank you, Mrs. Darzniek.
Thanks.
Okay, busy agenda tonight. With that, I'll open up to brief public comment on tonight's agenda items. We have 11. Who's first? None. Good. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't see your hand come up. Bill, do you have a comment? You know the rules. Mike's up here. All right, is somebody ready to jump right up? Mrs.
Yes,
Walker.
yes.
I'm sorry. No, Kathy, you're on your way. Go ahead. We'll do ladies first.
Kathy Walker. Look, I was at the pre-meeting, and I was kind of surprised that you started with this gym thing. So I went down and looked at it. There's a quote from Betty Davis, and I think you all know what I'm thinking. I couldn't believe that facility, especially when we have 3 beautiful facilities, Flat Rock, Planet Fitness, and LA Fitness, within 5 miles from here. Everybody drives. Everybody leaves the island. We've closed this place many times. The bridge has been closed. Everybody gets on, gets off. I just can't believe that. I looked at the pricing. Flat Rock's $180 for a resident. They have 3,000 members. They also have a population they draw from of over 77,000 people. You have 10,000 people here. And I'm going to tell you, you're never going to get anybody to cross that bridge and join here. And if it was such a great idea, and I'm not being mean, it's business. If it was a great idea and you can make money, people would come over here and do it. They'd have a little extension. Nobody's beating down the door to build a gym here. And I'll tell you, nobody would want to go into that gym. I belong to gyms in Chicago, same gym Oprah belonged to. I mean, really nice places. When you go in there, it's dark. The stuff's from the 70s. I don't know what's crawling on it. I mean, it's just, it would take a fortune to make that place decent. And you've got 3 huge, beautiful facilities that are basically the same price with beautiful pools. And you know I want a pool. I'll vote for it anytime you put it up. So I just kind of think that all this work, all this effort, and yet, in my opinion, you're doomed to fail. Because you want 1,000 people, then you want a bunch of kids to come in. At 180, it's just not going to happen. Common sense tells you it's not going to happen. So I just suggest that perhaps you slow it down a little and do a little market analysis, because talking to a couple friends and talking to some seniors, when most of the seniors you don't have, do you ever have 50 people at a meeting? A senior meeting? Usually there's like 20 people, and a lot of times they cancel everything. Go out there, look, and see if the population really would support it. They don't support our restaurants. They don't support a lot of things on the island. You know, we lost Nate's, we lost a lot of things. Ohana's recent. So I'm just saying, we've got 3 facilities. It's kind of like the place where they launch the boats. And everybody said, oh, we ought to have a boat launch. It's right there, it's $5. Why reinvent the wheel? It's just my suggestion, but I don't think it'll work, my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Now, Mr. Heil.
I'm Bill Heil, and I live on East River. I'm suggesting that an awful lot of people think that some kind of community center at some point in time is a wise idea. And the benefits that accrue are somewhat obvious. There's a social opportunity for people to get together. There's an opportunity for more physical fitness, possibly. But I'm not sure that this right idea is being placed at the right location at the right time. We have situations here where I think it needs more research to see how it would fly. This township, and we've seen the budget, needs money. I'm of the opinion that we are accruing financial liabilities more rapidly than we're accruing money for them. The majority of the money comes from taxes. We have to use the land we have here in the best possible way to generate more property tax, in my opinion, to successfully confront the future. This recreation center and some other creative planning, especially along Macomb Street, I think has more potential. If you have a large number of seniors who would socialize at a recreation center on Macomb, that would be a better location. I think more effort need to be put into using the land on the airport for facilities that can afford to pay the higher rents that an airport accrues, and that would help the township one way or another. The condition of that building is subject to question. People have walked through it. They have not looked at it in detail. We all know the old saying that the devil is in the details. We need to take some time to see where those devils abide and what we can do with them. We need to find other alternative uses and other locations to see whether this is a good choice or if there's a choice that's better. I don't see any real loss by taking a few months or weeks to generate more information. We avoid possibly making a decision to lease $31,000 of equipment and be stuck with a 3-year lease when we decide to bail out after whatever period of time short of that. More time, I think, would serve us well to make a better quality decision, is my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heil. Mr. Snyder.
Tom Snyder, 8448 Rucker. I've heard the last 2 speakers come up and discuss about there's possibility of different things that can go on. I would like to quote Ann that we have a rec director now who's not only financially sound and fiscally sound, but it's come from a community in Ohio where she has had a lot more experience and a lot more things that have gone on there. Again, Kim is not privy as all of us to all of the things that she wants to put in, but that tennis center is a jewel. It's not only tennis. There's a lot of opportunity for there. Right now, you guys may or may not be aware, but gym space is at a premium, not only on this island, but all of downriver. One of the things that I am sure Kim will do is that facility won't be open just for limited hours and only partially filled. I thoroughly expect Kim, with her aggressive behavior and her aggressive way that she is going to make this recreation department thrive. She's going to fill that thing up at morning, she's going to fill it up at noon, and she's going to fill it up at night. And I think all of you on the board are going to be extremely happy to find out what the future is going to be at that tennis center. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Other comments? Mr. Clark.
Woody Clark, Park Lane. Legal fees. You thought I was sleeping out there,
Oh.
huh?
It's okay. All right, legal fees, Thomas Orty in the amount of 2007-12, and Cots Wycart for, Cotstar, whatever, $242. $242, yes. $242.
Okay. The bridge passes. People better start buying them because there's going to be a lot of jam up out there, and you're going to be swipping and bitching and everything else. And don't bitch at Smoke because he kept his bridge up. If his bridge would have been like the South Bridge would have been, we would be doing some other things. We'd be jumping through hats to try to get off this island. Now, all I want you to do is make sure you get a bridge pass. If you don't get a bridge pass, don't piss and moan it's Smoke. He did his part. He fixed his bridge. Wayne County didn't. They kept on changing the date, saying it was all right. I don't know why that guy didn't get fired, but he didn't. That's here to there. One thing I see in a magazine, it's called P. This is for your knees. PEA. Might want to look it up. Might save your anxieties trying to walk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Other comments? Mr. Zalasko.
Bob Zalasko, Blauvelt. First of all, before I start, I'm 100% behind a rec center for this island. I think it's a great idea. Hopefully, maybe in the next administration, we'll have a financial plan and we'll be able to bring one on in a productive manner. I looked at the proposal. I worked the numbers up and down. Found it very difficult to see how we're going to generate a positive cash flow to even hold our own on this. Then I went over and I looked at the building. And my comments are the same as my predecessors up here. It needs work. To go into something like this reminds me of a few years back when members of this township came up to this podium and asked the board to table it, think about it before you jump into it. I think we'll all remember that program. We had to retract it. Cost us a few $1,000s in penalties. It's commonly referred to, I think, as the big splash. I hope we're not going there again. And I'm looking forward to the vote. I'm hoping we'll see some leadership here. And I'm hoping to see something better than a 5-2.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Zalasko. You in the back. Sorry, I don't know your name yet.
That might be a good thing. My name is Kevin Flavin, and I live on Park Lane. I'm very happy that the board is thinking about a community recreation building. I have 3 issues. One is transparency about the building. Second is safety, and the third is cost. And my thought is, one would think that the excitement of having a possible recreation center, we would have more information provided to the residents and taxpayers. I find it strange that there's not more excitement about it, and why we had to go online and ask for a FOIA to get the budget for the center. Why wouldn't that be provided as transparent? We should be transparent that way. This is a almost 80-year-old airplane hangar, and the building itself, there's mixed, again, here's another reason that we should be, there should be more detail. An 80-year-old building with wood beams holding it up. We don't know, these are laminated. Back in the day, those usually were glued together with formaldehyde or asbestos. I don't know the last time there was a, somebody went through the building and checked for mold, mildew, asbestos, lead paint, formaldehyde. It just doesn't seem to me to make sense. The building itself probably, if you run the numbers on it, has to be, and these are rumors that you hear flying around, neighbors talking that, you know, anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million to put that building into shape for what they're talking about. When I went to look at the building, the gentleman that runs it said that his contract for the building had been discontinued, that he was no longer going to be able to use the building for tennis. And it does seem like a adequate tennis center, but what they're saying, the recreation department was talking about having father, or what is it, mother, son dances, father, daughter dances. My thought is, I wouldn't let my kid in that building because of, you know, there's little heat. We don't know what, you know, what's falling in from the roof. It just seems like a very expensive gamble to, you know, put the building together. We don't have any kind of business plan for it. And I can't imagine going into a bank with a, you know, a sheet of paper saying this is what we think's going to happen, and they're giving us a business, or giving us a loan to put that together. And again, I would love to see a recreation department, and I think we need leadership to do the right thing here. Thank you.
Mr. Flavin. Other comments? Mr. Jurecki.
I'll try not to be redundant. First of all, I too would love to have a rec center here on Groh. I think just about everybody would. But I think we're moving just a little bit too fast. I happened to walk through that rec center last week, and it's in a pretty significant state of disrepair. I think there's some major capital improvements that are going to need to be done sometime in the future, maybe the near future. And then if I looked also at the business plan and saw some pretty aggressive assumptions. For one, we're going to have to quadruple our membership just to break even within probably the first 6 months. Some people say right from the gate. It's kind of hard to tell the way it was put together. So you got a significant operating risk. You also have a big risk that in the real short term, we're going to have to make some significant cash outlays for capital improvements. So the only thing that I'm recommending is, why don't we do it right? Why don't we go out and get a, you know, inspection by an engineer, get an understanding what the real true capital outlays, significant maintenance costs are going to be, so we're not guessing. And then, secondly, do a little bit more due diligence on a marketing plan. Maybe the assumptions are right. Maybe we will increase membership fourfold. But the short-term plan, we're just going to do like 10 grand in improvements, fixing some bathrooms, and that in and of itself is not very compelling to quadruple your membership, right? So I don't see why it's illogical to take a little bit of time, take a breath or two, do the inspection so we know what we have, and then take a vote on this, right? I mentioned it half jokingly in a study session, but we're not going to know the cost of this. We shouldn't be approving it before we know the cost. It was kind of like the Nancy Pelosi, we had to sign the bill before we could read it, right? It really makes sense to know your cost before you get into something like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jarecki. Other comments? I see none.
Oh,
Did I
I'm
miss
going to make a comment as a resident.
Darzniek.
Darzniek 24740. If you have a 13-year-old kid, or if you have kids in the school right now, they have nothing to do. They have nothing to do. My girl is currently at the tennis center. She currently takes tennis lessons. So she's there right now. She's there right now doing tennis. I'm paying for it. If something's wrong with that building, I guess she shouldn't be there right now, and she shouldn't have been there for the last 10 years. But she's there right now taking tennis. And if you just listen to Kim, she has so many opportunities, and to build a new rec department, we're going to really do that? No one wants to pay for a police department. We're going to all of a sudden get money for a rec department? This is the best opportunity that's come along, and I'm not kidding. When you have a 13-year-old that has nothing to do on this island, and all they do, there's nowhere for them to go, this is an opportunity for them to have somewhere to go, for us adults to have somewhere to go. I don't understand what all this stuff will come in time. If it needs repairs, you're not going to fix your roof on your house if it's not leaking. We know it's leaking. We know there might be repairs, but why is everyone trying to not let this happen? Let it happen. Those will come. We manage. We manage to fix our houses. We manage if there's houses to be fixed, we'll fix it. But they got nothing to lose right now. She's got nothing to lose but make this community a better place with the rec department. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Darzniek. Mr. Novak. Now, Kim, you got your whole presentation ahead of you. You can cover every. Right, you have a 14 Kaylee?
Ed Novak, Alba Drive. I'm a little partial to this project, but I would like everybody to know it's not like this has just come to us. Woody, you had your turn. I just, Kathy, I don't belong to the same gym Oprah did, but I'm telling you, I don't have kids like Ann, but other than the people in this room, for Duncan, yay, I can see a lot of residents back there that do have kids, and they so want this to happen. Kim has done so much hard work. I've met with almost all of you in the past few months about this project, and I agree with Ann. It just sounds like you're just trying to not make this happen. I mean, we're not going to I'm not going to speak for Kim, but I think we've worked really hard as a commission, and we have asked questions. We have a lot of good plans, and I'm all for this, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Novak. Mr. Rathel.
Well, why are they doing it? Well, because they want to sit up there next year because we're in an election. So our Groh malcontents are going to find any scare tactic they can to try to stop something. You notice how they start out. I'm all for rec. I'm all for the kids. But what you guys are doing, you're doing behind closed doors. You're not really looking at a business plan. You don't understand the building, and all of that is absolutely false. This has been looked at by so many people. The building has been looked at for phase 1 environmental, phase 2. I'm sure this is all going to come up. So we know what this is all about, right? We need a community center. We need a place for kids that are there now. We have kids that are taking tennis, but the facility is used for a very small minority of people. That's it, a private club. We have an opportunity to take one of our facilities, yes, one of our facilities. That facility does not belong to the airport, it belongs to the people of Groh. And we are responsible for that building. And we should do what we need to do to make that building presentable and available to the residents, families, seniors, and kids. Families, seniors, and kids. That's what this is about. It's not about the next election. It's not about trying to unseat anybody here and make anyone look bad. It is about families, seniors, and kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Athel. Kim, I'll let you come last and right there. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mark Lane. I live on Thorpe Court, and I'm not a malcontent. I have a 14-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter that play sports here on the island. I'd love to have his recreation center. I came from Dearborn. We had a $27 million facility in Dearborn that was about $9 million overrun when they started building it. But one thing they did, and I was working on the commission there, they did a fiscal, they checked out and make sure it was they were fiscally responsible, number one, but number two, they had a plan, and they talked to the residents, and they had meetings to go over this plan to make sure the plan was right for the city, right for the residents, and right for the kids. And the sad part is that we have diamonds down here at the high school that are embarrassment for the high school to have teams come over to play baseball. We've got soccer fields underwater. We've got grass that needs to be cut that's up to here in the springtime, up to my knees, when the teams come to play. We got high schools not wanting to come over to the bridge to play and cancel games because our fields are in such disarray. It's wonderful to build a rec center. I'm all for it. My kids would love to be there in the wintertime. But the thing is, we have other things that probably need to be fixed first, and I think should be looked at. But also, if you're going to have a plan for this and do this, make sure the residents know what's going on. I've lived here 5 years. I had no idea until I saw it on Facebook that this was coming up. And I'm really disappointed. I wish I would have known about this sooner, because I would have been at more meetings. But I don't think you've reached out to the residents as well as you should have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Kim, do you want to wait until your presentation? Wait until your presentation. Let's start out with our 4 options. And that might... Any other public comment before we get into what's going to be a long night? Miss?
Hi, my name is Becky Arndt, and I live in Manchester. I have 4 children in this wonderful community that we live in. I have a high schooler, a middle schooler, a child at Meridian, and a child at Park Lane. This rec program, I'm part of the rec program. My kids play soccer, my kids play basketball, they do it all. And a rec center would be a fantastic addition to our community. Yes, we're not Flat Rock. We're not going to go to Flat Rock. When I leave my job of teaching in Gibraltar, the last thing I'm doing at the end of the day is leaving this island to go work out. I have 4 children that I have to take care of when I get home. If there's somewhere where I could go and work out on my island that I love, amen, let me do it. Because right now there's nowhere for me to do that. My basement. If there is somewhere for my daughter to go work out and get ball skills, great, let her. Right now we leave the island to do that. If there's somewhere for my daughter to get a summer job, that might be a great place for her to go and do that. There's not a lot of places that she can't drive. She's 15. That's a great place for her to go because there aren't a lot of opportunities for that. And I'm sorry, when the bridge closes, I'm not leaving unless I have to go to work. And they're not leaving unless mommy's going to work. It is a great opportunity, and I would hate to see it not come to fruition because we have the what ifs, the what ifs, the what ifs. You can live your life in what if, but things aren't going to get accomplished if you live there. Reach for the stars. And if we want this community to grow, we need to offer those opportunities for everybody, not just our children, but our grandparents. They need to have a place to go and a place to sit and have coffee and work out. And I want to walk. Let's walk when it's not freezing cold outside. The bike path is a great place, but I don't know about you, but I'm not walking outside when there's 3 inches of snow. But if I could go over there and walk, great. I could take my mother-in-law and her and I could go and walk and then maybe sit and down and chat because there's somewhere for us to go. Please don't take this from us. Don't take it from our children. Don't take it from you. It's a wonderful thing. Let's grow together as a community. And this is one of those ways that we can grow. And the more people that do it together, what a great place this would be.
Thank you, Mrs. Arndt. Final comments? All right, seeing none. Let's move on to the remainder of our business meeting, and we'll start with the consent agenda.
Thanks, Brian. I'd like a motion to approve consent agenda 19-085. That includes the minutes of the February 10th, 2020 regular meeting. Check register dated through March 6th, 2020. Adoption of the 2020-2001 Township Board schedule, and adopt 2020-2021 Township meeting schedule. And the last item is to set the township staff holidays.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Budny. Discussion among the board? None offered. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None offered. That completes that. Let's move into tonight's action items. We have many. And Mr. Malvesto.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Been a long 40 years, hasn't it, Dunk? The action item is to accept the retirement of our current fire chief, Duncan Murdoch.
Support. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, moved by Trustee Malvesto, seconded by Trustee Budny. Tom?
All right. Bear with me. I have something to read. This is to Fire Chief Duncan Murdoch. Whereas Duncan Murdoch has served over 40 years as a dedicated employee of the Township of Groh, and whereas during his employment with the Township of Groh, Duncan Murdoch has served the Groh Fire Department in many positions, starting in the year 1977. As a firefighter/EMT and climbing to the ladder as sergeant, he was appointed the deputy chief and then fire chief in 1999. And whereas Fire Chief Duncan Murdoch acquired the following certifications: Associate's degree in Fire Science, training for Officer 1, 2, and 3, certification in Confined Space, certification in trench rescue, and among numerous others. And whereas Fire Chief Duncan Murdoch has provided tremendous support and leadership to the Groh Fire Department and the Township of Groh in a most professional and conscientious manner throughout his tenure with the Township of Groh. And whereas the Township Board of Trustees regretfully accepts the retirement of Fire Chief Duncan Murdoch. Now, therefore, on this date, March 9th, 2020, I'm going to insert that I, Brian Loftus, our supervisor, on behalf of the Groh Township Board of Trustees, do honor Fire Chief Duncan Murdoch for his commitment and dedication to the Township of Groh and to our island community. Duncan, would you please come up, please?
Well, this is going to be my last time at the board table, and as you all well know, I think I excel at the podium.
I don't know.
I'd like to do is talk.
Duncan, I don't know this will be your last time.
Well, it might not be. So, to the side of me. Whoop! You taking a picture? Here, get in here, Kath.
Before we give this presentation to Duncan, his wife Kathy, his lovely wife Kathy, stands next to him.
Thank you.
For numerous years, Kathy has put up with Duncan's responsibilities. And the reason I say this is every candidate who comes on the Groh Volunteer Fire Department, not only is he interviewed, but his spouse is interviewed at the same time. because she is making a commitment right along with the candidate. She's the one who has to put up with the multiple calls in the middle of the night, leaving family functions on the during the weekends to make calls for all the residents on this island. So it's a big commitment for the spouse, in this case Kathy, as well as the volunteer firemen. The chief has done this, and it says 1977. That's a lot of years, a lot of years. So they both committed themselves to this township, to our benefit, to our safety, our health. I can't imagine a greater sacrifice that one would give to his community. So Brian and myself want to present this to you. Brian?
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Brian.
Kathy,
Kathy, can I give you a hug?
thanks for putting up with us.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank
And
you.
Dunk, here you go.
I appreciate it.
And to all the members of the volunteer fire department, thank you so much for being here tonight. I know you've supported this chief for all the years you've been on the department. Can't think of a better guy. So this is your night, Dunk.
Now she gets me.
Now she gets
He's going to be home a lot, Kathy.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, do we vote on this yet?
Oh, we didn't vote yet.
Hey, you're still employed.
All right, those in favor of accepting with regret the retirement of Chief Duncan Murdoch, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I
Thank
didn't
you.
think so.
You're retired. buddy.
Thanks.
As of 1 April.
As of 1 April. Hey, Dunk, thanks, buddy.
Like I said, this is it's kind of a bittersweet situation. It just was it was a time for me after 42 years to say I got to turn this over to the younger crowd, and with the new ideas and more energy than I have. So, but I just want to thank a few people. Of course, my wife Kathy, my son Duncan sitting in the audience. My daughter couldn't be here, and then I got a daughter-in-law Kelly and my 2 grandchildren, Duncan.
Duncan part 4.
Well, like I said, Brian, we're not very creative when it comes to male names in our family. So I also want to thank the Township Board and the boards before you guys that supported all my crazy ideas and how I wanted to take the fire department into the future after, coming up through the ranks and reaching the level of chief. And I appreciate the trust and faith that the township boards and especially this one have put in me to run the fire department and take it into the 21st century on a very high end. This is probably one of the finest organizations that I have ever belonged to. I've been throughout the state looking at a lot of fire departments, and I'd match this group of guys up against any department and any career department. They made me look good, and I want to thank you guys for that. You guys did a great job of taking care of me. I'm not down, I'm not out, I'm not a rocking chair type of grandpa, but I am looking at doing other things. I'm looking to the future, spending a little more time with my wife and grandchildren. And you don't know how hard this decision was, and but it was the right one at the right time. So I want to thank this group again, and Dale, 2 of my mentors when I first came into the fire chief's job. Dale, he was very instrumental on telling me what battles to pick and what battles to let go. So, and of course, she kept me on track with my budget. And, trying to keep everything in-house. We've never borrowed money. We've never gone out for money. We've always stayed within our means. And I appreciate all your help, Ann. So, thank you. I appreciate everything. And I wish the best to all of you. And the incoming chief, I know I'm going to be able to say thank you. But we'll wait till that happens, and I'll give him a big hug. So, but I want to thank everybody for the time.
Duncan, I'd
Thanks, Chief.
like to say one thing. I have had the fire department to our parents' house 3 times and to very close friends twice over the years. You've mentioned about the time that you have had here. I want to thank you and thank everybody in this room from the fire department and all the taxpayers that support that gave them the extra years that we were able to enjoy with them. So when you talk about time, you gave us the time of life, the gift of time. I just want to say thank you, and thank you to everybody here.
Good. Let me shake some
Thanks.
hands.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah.
We'll see you.
I'll be in.
You touch those guys.
All right, we're moving into a new era. Let's move into action item number 2 then. Mr. Malvesto, please.
Oh, thank you again, Mr. Supervisor. Russ, I'm gonna have you sit down until we do this correctly, all right? This is the action item is to appoint a new fire chief. The motion is based on the unanimous recommendations of the Groh Firefighters Association and the Groh Fire Commission. The Board of Trustees promotes Russell Beaudry to the position of fire chief, effective 1 April 2020. Further, the base salary will be $91,500 plus longevity and other current benefits are to remain the same as outlined in the management handbook.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Malvesto, seconded by Trustee Budny.
I will give a brief history for Russ Beaudry. Russell's held the position of fire marshal for nearly 11 years. He's been a firefighter for a total of 24 years. He's also been, I always get this wrong, deputy chief for going on 6 years. Following standing tradition and past practice, the recommendation to fill the vacant fire chief position begins with the Volunteer Firefighters Association, and then on to the Fire Commission, and then to the Township Board. The recommended pay is below the current fire chief, but commensurate with the level of participation and the professional education the candidate has accomplished. An increase to parity may be offered based on performance assessment at a mid-year review. So I can go on. I'd like everybody to see his accomplishments. I'm just gonna hold this up. Here's 2 pages, a list of accomplishments, certifications that Russ Beaudry has accumulated in the past years. I don't know that anything more could be said about the gentleman. He's been a true asset to this community, and I'm asking the board to vote to approve his appointment to fire chief.
If you were to read the list of certifications, professional education, training accomplishments, we would probably be up here till sunrise. So, discussion among the board.
I'd just like to say welcome aboard as chief.
Let's vote him in.
Well, I think you know which way I'm going.
Yeah.
I think the candidate is the right candidate. How's that?
Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you for your service, Russ.
Mr. Supervisor, at the last meeting, Russ gave us all a tutorial on fire safety, fire suppression, banking of smoke, and I think it was Kathy Walker that said it best when she came up and said that was just an incredible display of knowledge and a very, very good, practical, common, hands-on appreciation for fire. I have in the past had concerns when we have a new chief of any department, whether it's police, fire, DPS, and we move on. Russ, if you continue to do what you did last meeting and what you've shown us for the last 35, 40 years, I feel better and better every day. And this is just a tremendous opportunity for the cream to rise to the top. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mr. Bloetscher. Other comments from the board? Muda? Madam Clerk?
Thank you. Well, Mr. Malvesto and Duncan made it a point to say that the chief always wanted to talk to the spouse of the new candidate. With all this coming at you, Heather, do you have anything to say? How do you feel about this? Well,
we'll hold you.
Going
we'll
back
hold
to
you
old
that.
school, we would say welcome to both of you. We're glad to have both of you on board.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Nelson.
Mr. Beaudry, I'll probably say less of you with the Ford Yacht Club because you'll be working more hours or something. Congratulations and look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Chief, your outgoing chief.
So that wasn't the last time you were coming to the podium.
Well, you said it best.
You're a citizen now.
And I got till April 1. I have till April 1. Real quick, I think Rusty's a good transition. This is definitely a good transition. He's got the education, he's got the background, he's got the feel for the group. He understands what that commitment's all about. So, you know, I'm backing this 100%, and I'm proud that he's going to be your next chief. And for everybody that's at the board and anybody out in the listening audience doesn't know, he's actually married to my sister.
Yeah, we got full transparency. I'm scrolling up there on the screens for those of you, as Mr. Malvesto mentioned, just a list of training and accomplishments, and you know, it fills 2 pages. Probably couldn't be more qualified. Other comments from the board? Those in favor of promoting Russ Beaudry to position of Fire Chief, Gross Hill Township Fire and Rescue Department, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None offered? Now, Russ.
Russ.
I wish to thank you all.
You'll have to learn how to use the podium.
I want to say the Groh Hill Fire Department has a history since 1943 of citizens of Groh Hill rescuing, serving, and helping citizens of Groh Hill. I may be the chief, but I can't do it without these gentlemen behind me. I want to thank you all, and we wish to continue that same service to the people of Groh Hill. Thank you very much.
Hey, Russ, I've got a request. Would you introduce Heather? And would you introduce the firefighters that are here? Because we only see them in the dead of night. We only see them with the lights flashing by. Will you introduce your officers and your firefighters so that we know who we have?
I
Would you
promised
please?
Heather that I wouldn't embarrass her, but I've had the conversation, and Heather, would you please come up? You deserve it.
Thank you.
This is the chief's lovely wife, Heather.
This is my beautiful wife, Heather.
And as Duncan
That
mentioned,
promise wasn't in writing, right?
No, it wasn't in writing. But Russ, congratulations.
Thank you, Tom.
Russ,
Brian, I want to thank
welcome
you.
aboard. Heather,
Thank you.
take good care of them.
Give you a hug.
Do you remember our names, Rusty?
So, if you do the introduction, it'd be appreciated.
Yes.
But Russ, thank you.
Tom, official pose. Would you introduce your guys first?
Yes, I'm
the
going.
guys.
These are the gentlemen that show up in the middle of the night for our rescues, for our fire calls, weekends, holidays. These are the gentlemen that they are your neighbors. They are citizens of Groh Hill. I want to thank them again.
Bring them up.
Okay, have them
I
stand.
I want names and faces in
Yeah.
the camera. These are the guys.
This is Kevin Langley, Sergeant Kevin Langley.
Am I supposed to stay up here?
Yes. This is Rich Brower. He's president of the Firefighters Association.
Thanks, Chief.
Excuse me. Lenny? This is Lenny Pedestris, firefighter. Charlie? Charles Lawler, captain.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Bob? This is Bob Roscoe, firefighter, EMT. Andrew? Andrew Huber.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you so much.
Kenny Gape. Everybody knows Kenny Gape.
Where's your tool belt?
Yes. Captain. Ted Copley, firefighter. Am I missing anybody? The three that left were on a rescue. Jim Kovich, he's our safety officer. Dan Gaglio, and who was the other one? And James Gatt. Come on. Here come my firefighters now. My young team. Come on in. Dan Gaglio. Jake. Jim. Kovich. Thank you, gentlemen, again.
With Russ, please. Charlie? We want to get a picture of you guys with Russ, so if you don't mind.
Kenny, you're blocking my view.
Thanks, guys.
The bottom of my heart, thank you all.
What I saw was a lot of guys big enough to carry me out. That was reassuring. Thanks, guys. Okay. Yeah, moving along here.
Number 4.
All right, the next falls on me. Miss Angela Secocas. I move that the Groh Seal Township Board of Trustees, with regret, accepts the resignation of our first Downtown Development Authority Director, Mrs. Angela Secocas.
Support.
Okay, I'll give it to Treasurer was first, then I get to read it. Whereas Angela Secocas has served as a dedicated employee of the Township of Groh Seal, and whereas during her employment with the Township of Groh Seal, Angela Secocas has served as the first Downtown Development Authority Director, and whereas Director Secocas' main focus was to revitalize Macomb Street, and whereas Director Secocas implemented numerous events to draw activity to Macomb Street, such as Ladies' Night Out, Paint the Town Red, Chocolate Walk, Dog Days of Summer, Outdoor Movie Nights, Lights at Lions, and whereas Director Secocas created various programs such as the DDA grant program, developed partnerships with the school district, community recreation department, various community groups, updated street banners, created a Macomb Street social media presence, created a brand logo, and whereas Director Secocas provided tremendous support to the Township of Groh Seal, the Board of Trustees, and the Downtown Development Authority in the most professional and conscientious manner throughout her tenure with the Township of Groh Seal. And whereas the Township Board of Trustees regretfully accepts the resignation of Director Secocas, now therefore be it proclaimed on this 9th day of March 2020, Township of Groh Seal does honor and thank Downtown Development Authority Director Angela Secocas for her commitment and dedication to our Macomb Street Business District and our entire island community. So proclaimed. Angela, thank you. You're going to give one last presentation, right?
Okay.
You've got
Is this where I say something? I'm incredibly proud of all the things that we were able to accomplish. I think that we have great momentum right now on Macomb Street. I think the two projects that are currently underway that we just started are really just telling of what the vision can be in Groh Seal. I think, a lot of the comments up here about the rec center, I'm in full support of the rec center. I just think as an example, if we don't make changes and we don't develop the island and we don't try and we don't take risks, then we're going to continue on the same path. And is it a bad path? No. But is it exciting? Is it bringing people to the island? Is it creating a real estate market where people want to live here, a school district where people want their children to go, a business district that people want to take a day trip to, bring their bikes, their kayaks? I mean, it's, you know, we're hoarding and keeping all of this goodness to ourselves when in all reality we need to share it. And there is no harm in sharing it. There's no harm in welcoming people. And quite honestly, there's only money to be had. You know, I'm not going to name them here and now, but there are businesses on Macomb Street that cannot afford to pay their property taxes. They cannot afford to pay their taxes because of time and time again predicaments that they're in. Whether we support them or not, I think the question shouldn't be, do we get enough support for a rec center? Do we get enough people to show up to Macomb Street? But how do we get people to do that? We need to give it to them, and we need to ask for that. And I think that's all we've done with the DDA is just ask for people to come to Macomb Street, do it on Macomb Street, have a meeting down there, go get ice cream, ride your bikes. And I think we're seeing and reaping the benefits of that. And I really hope that, you know, my only regret I think about leaving at this point in time is that I am really excited about these upcoming projects and what they're going to mean and what that's going to look like down there. And I just really hope that the DDA continues to take that charge and the new DDA director continues to march that march, because it's all good things. And whether you're staying here in the next term election or the new folks who are running, you know what? Ride the wave. Quit talking about the bridge and all the bad negative things. Start talking about the good things happening here, because there are so many good things coming down the pike. And I'm proud of it, and I'm proud that I was a part of it, and I plan to continue to be part of it, whether I'm welcome to or not. I'm still going to be down there, and I'm still going to be beating the drum. And I'm proud of the business owners that are down there. I mean, Steve at Lloyd's has done a wonderful job, and I'm pumped that we have new owners that are coming in. It wasn't even on the market before we had new owners come in and scoop that place up. And I think that says something about the vision of other people, the residents, and, you know, the folks that believe in this township and this island. And I'm proud to live here and continue to work in support of it. So thank you for the opportunity. I've had a lot of fun. It's been good. And, oh, and I get flowers. I'm not done yet, though. So Wednesday, March 25th is the first open house engagement. Spackman, Mossop, and Michaels are going to be here at the VFW Hall from 4:30 to 6:30. It's open to the public to look at their first initial designs that they have put together for the DDA. These aren't finalized, but they're gaining input, so please stop by. 4:30 to 6:30, Wednesday, March 25th at the VFW.
Brian, I noticed.
Did we vote yet?
No.
Wow.
Yep. Brian, I noticed you didn't have flowers for the other guys, and you waited for them to leave before you pulled out the flowers.
My flower budget is done for
What's your
this
day
year.
job?
Angela, I'll sum it up like I did the other night. You made me smile. You made a difference. You made the township a better place. Get her a tissue. I may need one next, because when Ron and I, almost 3 years ago, Ron Moran, the chair of the DDA, we came to the conclusion we were not capable of marketing and developing this business district. Try as we could, we just didn't have the background, didn't have the wherewithal, didn't have the energy. And we interviewed, Dale ran through put it out. We got a number of applicants. He brought the 3 best applicants for interviews, and some had more impressive qualifications, but none of them had the enthusiasm. Angela was like a cheerleader, just ready to go to work, and she never slowed down. So Ford is lucky to get you. We're going to try to convince you to come back and keep an eye on us. keep your hands in. And, and as if we weren't getting enough work out of her, Mr. Duker.
I just wanted to say a quick thank you on behalf of myself and the Airport Commerce Park Commission. As some of you are aware, we did hire Angela part-time to do marketing for myself and the Airport Commerce Park in the time that I think we really needed it. And I guess I'll say marketing coordinator and in parentheses secretary, because no matter how many times I explained to a lot of our older tenants on the field, they insisted that she was my secretary. So I appreciate you putting up with that vibe also in the office. But in all seriousness, she did have a large impact even in her short time with the Airport Commerce Park. She helped me significantly in leasing our new facilities that we've been very successful with. We pre-leased all 8 of those before the construction was done. We have 2 more coming down the pipeline with interest now. I owe a great deal of that to her. She also has brought new ideas into my office and definitely a joyous personality into the office and kind of thinking outside the box and directions I hadn't thought of before, interesting concepts, and a lot of thought into the tennis center and the recreation center that you're here tonight. So definitely just a big impact on DDA from what I could see from my desk and my glass barrier, but also a major impact on the airport. So I wanted to thank her for that.
Thanks, Mike. Clerk.
So I just wanted to make a comment that goes along these lines. About 20-some years ago, I think John might even remember, we started a project on Macomb Street where we put in a better road and, believe it or not, sidewalks on both sides of the street. And there was a big political fight over sidewalks. We had those who wanted sidewalks on both sides of the street, and if you can believe it, we had those who didn't want sidewalks on both sides of the street. We took that one step further a few years later and put streetlights up and down the road, and some people called it a runway, and other people thought it was a great addition to the street. We started with island glow, and slowly and surely, with the infrastructure in place, the township started placemaking. But what we did was we put in hard projects. A big difference when you came on board is you brought in heart and soul. You brought in energy to the district and activities that we could all take a part of that pulled us out of our homes where we were sitting alone or working out in our basements because we had nowhere else to go, and made Macomb Street attractive and a fun place to be. And you didn't have a lot to work with, but you really had vision and energy, and you motivated people, which is a rare skill. And so I applaud what you've done. We're going to miss that, but I imagine as a resident you'll still be involved. That energy will still be here, but you have really made a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That. Any other comments? Okay.
One last comment?
Then me.
One last comment. I didn't get to work with Angela all that much, but I certainly saw her around, saw her dealing with other people within the township, and you don't know how important it is to see that energy, to see the enthusiasm. You don't have to agree with people on an issue, but to see the energy and know that she's sincere about what she was doing is a real plus for the whole township. And anytime I did have the chance to talk to her or work with her, was always a very pleasant experience and a very positive experience. And you hate to lose people like that. So I just wish you all the best, Angela.
Thanks, Jim. And Mr. Nelson.
Angela, it's been a long night. I don't know where we are through it, but yes. Everything that I would like to say has been said. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You did a great job.
With that, those in favor of accepting with regret Ms. Secaucus' resignation as DDA director, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. Angela, again, thank you. And since I can't juggle flowers and your All right, now back to business. Let's see. Number 4, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Brian. I'd like to make a motion to approve the facility use, operation, maintenance, and agreement between the Groesville Airport Commerce Park Commission and the Groesville Community Recreation Commission for 9251 Groh Road.
Okay, moved by trustee.
Wait a minute.
More?
And furthermore, to amend the Recreation Department budget to include the Community Recreation Center budget for revenue and expenses dated March 9th, 2020.
Support.
Didn't change your mind. Moved by trustee Nelson, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss. And let's have Ms. O'Farrell. And again, in light of the comment and the perceptions going into this, I would like you to start with the 4 options you presented at our study session for the building, and I'm going to call it the drill hall. That was what it was originally built for. It was then, when the needs of the Navy increased, the oak floor was removed, a concrete floor was put in, and it was used as an aircraft maintenance facility. It then was a tennis center under a couple of different operators, and now we've got decisions to make.
Go to that page. I'm new to the PowerPoint up here, so Dale's just giving me a quick lesson. I just want to start off. I just kept trying to come up here a couple times, and I wasn't allowed until it was my turn. But I first want to say to Angela, my partner in crime on special events, it was a pleasure working with her. We accomplished a lot down on Macomb Street. I had a blast, and I love your vision. So thank you for working with the Recreation Department, and I'll see you around. I know that. Okay. So I also wanted to come up and speak as a resident. I do live on Macomb Street, so I do see what was happening on Macomb Street. Especially when you live there, you kind of see everything that's happening. So what Angela was doing to bring all that stuff down to Macomb Street and all the activities and all of that, I have the same vision as Angela does, as we've had several conversations about what we can do to better the community that we actually live in. And I also have my daughter here tonight, who is a student athlete. She is a freshman at the high school. She doesn't want to come up. She's hiding back there. But, being part of the community and actually living here and talking to people, and I'm at every sporting event and every event you can think of, that's where you get to know what the community wants. So I just wanted to start off by that. And, with my daughter and all the sporting groups, I'm very active. I've got Jaira, I've got Gisa here as well, representing that. I want to start with the schools are running out of space in the schools for all the sports teams. And the number one thing I hear from the student athletes is, we don't have anywhere to work out. Ms. Kim, can you help us? And we do have a lot of student athletes on this island. So I just wanted to bring that up. And she was going to come up and say something, but that's all right. So as we talk about the Groesville Community Center and how it was presented to the Community Recreation Commission, we started this conversation about almost 4 months ago with the situation of the current tenant that is in there. I've explained in the study session to all the trustees, explained to the Community Recreation Commission of the situation. So we did start investigating the possibility of having a community center. I hear people saying the word recreation center. I feel that building is a community center. I have run both community, senior, and recreation facilities in the 25 years of being in recreation. So I just want to kind of clear that up. It's a community center that will offer recreational programs. So there's always that differential. But where we're at today are the options of this particular building. The tenant is going to be vacating the premises. And here are the options: tear the building down, seek RFPs with the possibility of an outside group coming in to operate the building. The Airport Commerce Park Commission could operate the building,
or the Grosso Recreation Department could operate the building. So those were the options that were presented by the Airport Commerce Park Commission upon their vote the evening of their meeting. So when those options were kind of thrown in my lap, I went, ooh, that's a tough one, especially for a recreation director, especially for living in the community. And this is the first place I have physically worked in 25 years that does not have an indoor facility to offer to our residents. We have many outdoor amenities. We have the marinas. We've got, the yacht clubs. We've got the country club. But what do we do in the winter? That was the hard part for me. And it really set home. And 2 winters ago when it was really, really cold. And the kids are, beating down the doors, sitting at home with their Xboxes, and they have nowhere to go. My seniors have nowhere to walk. And I may be the only one that hears that as the recreation director for the community. Some of the board members, you may not hear what the community wants. Some of the people in the audience, you may not know what they want because they're not talking to you, they're talking to me. So when I had the options put in front of me, I said, Kim, you gotta get this in gear. On top of the fact, yes, the bridge is closing. Now we've got 10,000 people on top of the bridge closing and nowhere to recreate themselves and work out. So I just wanted to start off by that. I do have a very lengthy PowerPoint presentation, but I'm only going to focus on some of the bullet points. The goal is to bring a quality fitness center with state-of-the-art equipment, along with utilization of space inside the facility for user groups to participate in organized activities. That is the main goal. Fitness trends, gym memberships are increasing. And this is something that I've definitely studied over 25 years. I've built fitness centers in my other rec centers that I have operated. And if you build it, most people do come because of the increase in the trend. And I understand, yes, we can cross a bridge. Yes, we can go over to Planet Fitness. But the majority of the people that live in a community or a township or a city would prefer to have that amenity in their community. They would prefer not to go over the bridge. And those studies have been done. I've done the studies with all the cities that I have worked for. So that's just a fact. People would prefer to stay here. And you can see the trends are increasing, especially with the fitness centers. And that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about a flat rock. We're not talking about an indoor pool. And that's what drains recreation centers. Trust me, I know. I ran pools for several years. And that is the main drain on the big rec centers, and overstaffing. I spoke to Flat Rock, looked at their staffing plan, and they have 9 full-time people, okay? I ran my other facilities with 4, okay? So there's a lot of things that go into planning the budget, figuring out how to make this work, and that's what I intend to do. So just fitness trends, the 6 reasons the fitness industry is booming, so we understand what we're talking about when we talk about a fitness center, which we do not have on the island. We do not have a fitness center. Health insurance costs go down. The new demand in health foods, the trends, we see it on the television. We see it all the time. People are really focused on staying healthy. At least most of us should be. Some of us aren't. The majority of the population should be, and I believe that they are. The wearables, devices, your Fitbits, your Apple Watches, smartphones, it's all part of the fitness plan. Even though you have those items, you still want to be able to walk into a fitness center and work out. Streaming exercise classes. And I know a lot of our residents actually do this because we have nowhere to go. They work out in their basement. They turn on the television. They actually rent DVDs now, but they're stuck in their house. And I hear that a lot. Kim, I need a place to go. Sitting in my house is driving me nuts. Budget-friendly gyms. that's kind of the trend. The Planet Fitness is, and we've designed the plan to kind of model that. Now, guaranteed, it's not going to look like a Planet Fitness Center. We know that. We've all been in the building. It's not going to be purple and yellow. It's not. I'm being honest. It's going to be what we have right over here. That's what we're going to have to get started. The other thing on the incline is the outdoor obstacle races, your 5Ks, your triathlons, your marathons, even American Ninja Warrior. Very popular. And you need to train for that. We have a lot of runners on this island, lots of them. We have a lot of bikers that go off island to do these 5Ks and triathlons. Where do they train? We need to provide them a place to train. And this is based on Forbes, which is a very, very reliable source. Another goal, utilize the open space, hence unused tennis courts for multi-purpose activities that include, but not limited to, fitness classes, indoor walking, kids activities such as dodgeball, open gym time, gymnastics, soccer, pickleball, toddler tumble time, kids club. We were going to offer babysitting so people can actually work out and drop their kid off. Family movie night and much more. I could go on all night about programming for this community. I'm limited now because of the space that I currently have. Everyone says I have the farm. Okay, that's a beautiful space, but it's not enough space for these types of programs. Indoor space in general is very limited on the island. Recreation currently utilizes the gym space in the schools. This sometimes prohibits the schools from using their own space for sports practices. GISA and Gyro would also be able to utilize space for their programming needs as well. So soccer kids can actually come in and kick the ball around. Our baseball kids could come in and throw the ball during the winter months. Right now, they only have outdoor facilities across the street. Our student athletes have access to a small weight room located near the football field that only have a few weight benches currently inside. I went there, and thank gravy they have that. Our student athletes would benefit from having access not only to the current area that they have, but also the new fitness center. Pickleball. It's one of the fastest growing sports you've never heard of. That's a true statement. A lot of people don't even know what it is. Most pickleball games are played on retrofitted tennis courts. It's quick and easy for parks and recreation departments to get the game up and running. Pickleball has had a 650% increase in numbers over the last 6 years. And this is according to the Pickleball Association. I'm not making numbers up. This is the trend. It's popular, and it is growing. I have talked to several other communities about this trend, and they don't have the space. They wish that they had what we had. The tournaments and the amount of play on this particular sport is off the charts. Reasons for pickleball: it's inexpensive, requires minimal gear. Pickleball is for everyone. Everyone feels it's only the senior population, but I would have a youth pickleball league as well, just to let everybody know. It is a sport of the future. Some colleges already have it as an intramural because it is affordable. Could it be a varsity sport? We never thought bowling would be, and it is. And tournaments are a great source of revenue. Also with indoor space is rental opportunities, birthday parties with bouncy houses, court space for other sports groups, baseball, soccer, wrestling, lacrosse, cheerleading, to name a few. I already had one phone call to see if they could use the tennis center. They didn't know we were going through this process and asked, I'd like to do a fundraiser there. And I said, oh, hang on, this was like 3 days ago. So there are fundraising opportunities when you have space for our community groups to come in and utilize space. Special events, the daddy-daughter dance, family movie nights, Halloween party, youth dances, and after prom. Again, this is all the things you can do with space. We see 6 tennis courts, yes. Tennis programs will continue. They are not going away in any way, shape, or form. I was a tennis player since I was 5 years old. I played D2 at Slippery Rock. I taught tennis lessons to get myself through college. So I love tennis, and tennis is not going away. I just want to make that very clear tonight. Again, we talked about the options. These are our options. And we talk about the building. We do all have capital improvement concerns. Let me tell you, when I got on the island, I walked over to that marina 3 years ago. That was a capital improvement concern, the size of Texas. Swimming pool, same thing. I walk in, there's cracks, we have to re-marsite. That was the first project I did. Now I've got a pool here. Things are breaking, they do. When you have community use facilities, they're going to wear and tear. There's no doubt about that. So I kind of put together a capital improvement plan. Only going out 2 years. I'm not in the building yet, number one. Number two, we have not had the full inspection. We have had a walkthrough with our engineer. The engineer had said to us 3 to 5 years on the barrel roof. I've had communication with the Airport Commerce Commission, Mr. Duker, and this is what they know. And this is what we've been told. I do not feel that our communication is inaccurate. But yes, there's a chance I could go in there and 6 months later the whole roof flies off. Of course, it's a risk. I understand that. The listed improvements will be based on a needs assessment along with what revenue tracking during the course of each fiscal year. Revenue streams will determine the capital improvement plan along with a detailed review of the entire building. A solid capital improvement plan will be presented by the end of fiscal year 1. Okay? The basketball court is definitely a wish list, just to let you know. Community input through the use of social media, along with several conversations with many members of the community, along with our schools. I met with the schools. The desire for a community center is inevitable. There was also a community survey administered by the DDA. I think it was in 2018, Angela. And that went out to all the residents. And the number one response from the community was a fitness center in that survey. And that was a more professionalized survey, if I'm not mistaken. Legislative support on February 27th, 2020, the Community Recreation Commission voted all in favor of the project and operating agreement. As your recreation director, it's my job to provide our community with programs, services, and events that enhance the quality of life for everyone. When this opportunity was presented to me by the Airport Commerce Park Commission, I said this may be our only shot at this. To build a new facility is not feasible nor financially responsible at this time. They're usually, on the average, $10 to $20 million to build a new one. It will be up to the community to embrace this project, and I feel from the input that I have received, it will be widely accepted by many of our residents. So tonight I ask for your vote to support our residents and their endeavor for health and fitness for the island. Dale, where's that second one? Put together just kind of a rough draft of the marketing piece. And again, I'm trying to model it on what the current trend is, you know, the Planet Fitness kind of thing. I am trying to make it very affordable to our residents, and this is basically what I came up with. The hours of operation are listed on this flyer, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 5, Sunday 10 to 6. Obviously, hours are subject to change. $20 a month for our adult population, ages 18. I don't know if you can see that. Can you guys see that? $15 a month for ages 14 to 17 and our seniors, 55 and up, and $10 a month for our little guys. We have an $8 drop-in, and the membership includes discounted rates on programs and services. Is it there? Did you flip it? So that is the marketing piece. And then how do I go back to the other slide? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Way back.
All right, I am not an engineer at all. So this was kind of my thoughts on how to utilize the space. So obviously we're going to keep 4 tennis courts. 2 of them to get started will be lined with pickleball and tennis. You can line and you can do both. That's what everybody's doing. It's okay to do both. You see the child watch area. That is the babysitting area. You see where the fitness center that currently exists. One of my fitness reps that I've worked with on a few projects did come up, toured the facility with me. We put together a fitness layout that would fit into that current area. We do not have enough room in that current area for free weights, barbells, those types of things. So we would go out on court 6, and you can kind of see where that's at. Fitness class area on the other side. And then we also, on court 5, we have some open area. So again, a schedule would be put together. It just doesn't, we just don't open the door and say everybody run and go. It's not how that works. The schedule gets put together. Obviously, there's court reservations, there's tennis lessons going on, pickleball leagues will be going on, and we put a schedule together that fits this facility, and that's how you do it. Okay? I know the big want was 24-hour fitness center. That was kind of the big request. Obviously, can't do that right now. But this is what we have. It's a great opportunity. It is a township building that should be utilized by recreation at this point. So that's really all I have for tonight. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Comment. There was a lot of discussion that went on with the recreation or with the Commerce Park Commission regarding this facility. And one of the issues that we dealt with was the facility is currently being rented out at about 1/3 of its market rate. And that particular agreement was started many, many years ago to utilize the building at all. The board at that time decided that it was better to take it at a reduced rate than just leave the building fallow and not use it. Over the years, the Commerce Park Commission and the airport facility has handled the lawn maintenance, and we've fixed the air conditioners, and we did roof repairs. Well, the amount of money that we were collecting from it just was not adequate for the revenue. So we had one or two choices, and the choice was to just end it or tear it down. And of course, you know what my stand is on tearing buildings down. I spent a lot of time and effort trying to preserve as much of this airport as we possibly can. So the Commerce Park decided that we could rent the facility to the Recreation Department. I was not in favor of that. I didn't think that that burden of rent on top of starting a new venture was feasible. So they actually stepped back and said, all right, we'll give it to them for $1 a year. So going into this thing, they have no cost, no operating cost, other than the cost of the programs that they put together. All of a sudden, this thing starts to become a no-brainer if we get the support from the citizens, which I think we're going to do. I am fully in favor of utilizing this facility. It needs to be utilized. We need to utilize the pickleball facilities availability. We need to keep the tennis available. We need to have a place for our young people to congregate, to work out. We knew there was going to be naysayers, and we kind of knew which ones they were going to be, too. And I thank John Rathall for his efforts in this project, because he had a vision, and the fact that it's an 88-year-old building, the building we're sitting in is older than the building that we're talking about. And this one was put to pretty good use. So I'm encouraging the board to look beyond the naysayers. Let's give it a shot, see what happens. I mean, it's no cost. We're not charging the Recreation Department anything. And all the revenue that comes in, if it is successful, we can utilize that to renovate that building, to bring that building up to a standard that we want to see it. Because the option to build a new building is just not feasible. Not for this community at this time, anyway. We'd be looking at huge millages, and we're just not going to do that. So I would encourage the board. There are some members whose mind I will not change, but I would encourage the balance of this board to have an open mind and move forward with this project, because I think Kim has proven that she is capable of generating revenue for this township, and I want to commendate on your efforts and your job well done. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Other comments from the board?
I
Mr. Malvesto.
I expressed my concerns in a study session. I had a meeting with, along with Mr. Budny and Kim last Thursday. I walked through the building myself. Listen, my objection in no way has anything to do with our current rec director. I think she's done a fine job. She's proven herself on more than one occasion. It has nothing to do with her. It's got nothing to do with her vision. But you heard Mr. Van Oz already tell you that even though we had a tenant that I don't know, I really don't know, I don't have the exact figures in front of me, how much that tenant was paying annually for the lease. I think I heard numbers like $48,000.
That's correct.
And so I'm accurate there. Based on Kim's budget, opening the door on June 1st with 1,000 paid up members, she was going to see approximately a $3,000 gain in a year. But the numbers that she provides do not include liability insurance, nor do they include employees' taxes, which I would tend to believe would eat up that $3,000.
Building's already under township liability.
I'm still going here. The fact that she may end up with actually zero income, if the $48,000 that the current tenant was paying isn't enough, wasn't generating enough income for the airport commission, and they're going to turn this building over to rec, and I'm not sure where the money is going to come from for them to maintain this building. The biggest objection I have is not into your not your programs and not the benefits that will serve the residents in this township. It's that you're going into a building that is 88 years old, as an aging heating system, has no air conditioning, has very little ventilation, already has problems with the roof, and without a bona fide inspection of the mechanicals, that being the water, that being the heat, that being the HVAC, heating, cooling, being the roof, you could be tying yourself into not only the elephant in the room, but a dead elephant. and you're going to have a large investment, and you're going to disappoint a lot of people. I would like for this board to either table this or add to the action item that before you move forward, signing any leases for equipment or starting programs, that a full inspection be done of this building to identify any potential cost that you may see down the road. Now, it may be that the roof will last another 3 to 5 years, and you may be able to patch it. But it's when you start patching a roof, putting a Band-Aid on a roof, it just continues to deteriorate. You've got great plans for a tennis court. I guess that's going to require a wooden floor. I mean, based on the cost, I'm seeing that there's not a tennis court. I'm sorry, a basketball court. I apologize. I'm going to assume that's going to require a wooden floor. That's a large investment. You've got a large investment going into the parking lot. But before you take a bite out of this elephant, I'd like you to have a full inspection. That's at the very least. That's what the Airport Commission, Commerce Park Commission, should provide you, is a full inspection. Then going forward, if you can see what you'll be able to tell whether you really want to go forward or not, or what you can expect. Right now, you want to replace a heater in the pool at Water's Edge, and that's going to take a chunk of money out of your budget, and you brought that before the board to ask our approval. What if you have to repair or replace the entire heating cooling unit over there? That's going to be a much larger pill to swallow, a very bitter pill. So I would ask that we table this until you get the inspection, and then make plans going forward. The programs that you plan on offering, I don't see a problem with any of them. In fact, I have not in our study session. I don't know of one argument against what your intentions were. The majority, almost everything, was based on a question about your budget, but the condition of the building itself. And I would ask this board to think about this and add an item, add a line on here that requires a full inspection of the facility before moving forward. That's the fairest thing I can see and I can ask for.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Well, you did want to answer one question about liability.
Township, the building's already under township liability, is it not, Mr. Grimm? Okay. What was the other concern?
Employee taxes.
No, it's not built into payroll.
Well, let's see,
Not
who
sure what
pays
the-
when,
It was omitted. It was about, what, $6,000?
Which puts it in a loss.
all right, let's go.
Coming up with this, Brian, just based because we're trying to put up a roadblock, but these are actual items that need to be taken into consideration.
I'll just go back to those first four options for the building. That's where we are. Madam Clerk?
So I'm going to pull a page out of Mr. Rathel's playbook. Go Tennis Center building. I don't, it's not Hangar 1, but remember Hangar 1? Remember this building? This building was close to being torn down. A lot of the facilities we have on Groh Seal that we now use were used buildings, right? Centennial Farm was a pole barn that somebody had the vision, probably John Rathel, had the vision to say this could be the beginning of a recreation facility. And there were a lot of what ifs, and I remember the word from a past meeting, analysis paralysis, but the community got together, crunched the numbers, and said, yes, what if, but what if we don't? What do we lose if we don't even try? We took a part of Centennial Farm and turned it into a dog park. I was a big what if, oh my God, we shouldn't do this. But everyone got together, worked out the kinks, had discussions, and it's a very successful part of Centennial Farm that people use all the time. You know, for some obscure reason, the township sold its township hall to the post office and all of a sudden found itself needing a new location. And yeah, we could have built a beautiful new building on Macomb Street. And I think the estimates were around the $20-30 million mark. And a few residents had a vision here and said, what if we fix up this building? And this building was a mess. It was a complete wreck. And yet, people got together. They started to see the vision. They answered the what ifs with how abouts. And we start small. You plant a seed. We are obligated to take care of that building one way or the other. My husband specializes in demolition. Demolition is not cheap. So, you know, demolishing the building sounds like an easy option, but it's not an easy option. It's also a very costly option for the township. And if we look at the possibility of bringing a tenant into that building, well, guess what? They're going to have the same issues that Mr. Malvesto had, right? And the township will be on the hook for putting all those things right. Here we have a team working together within what may now be not perfect conditions, but we're going to work toward putting something together that will get better and better. And I was not at the study session because of a work-related incident, but I had a long conversation with Kim and Dale last week. I feel very familiar with what is going on, what you're planning. We were here at your commission meeting. As I told you, I was also a little disappointed that the commission didn't go into as much detail. I understand why, but I like this kind of a presentation because you're not just talking to us, you're talking to all the people watching the meeting as well. We're obligated to take care of that building, and if anyone, I mean, you're like the new Tim Rooney, if the Energizer Bunny of the rec department, right? If anyone can make something go, I think it will be you. And my kids are grown, but I don't care if my kids will use the building. I like the idea that anybody's kids could use that building. And I may be the exception here, but when I voted for the rec millage, I wanted that money to be used to provide recreation on Groh Seal for everybody. And when we collect tax dollars, we are obligated to provide a service, not a product per se, but a service to the people who pay those taxes. Townships don't have to have rec departments. Groh Seal voters decided we're going to have a rec department. So I fully support this. I know we're all going to watch very closely, you know, but that's what governments and communities do. And I am afraid of the stagnation that comes when what ifs keep us from trying new things. And so I'm going to support you in this. I'll watch you, you know, and we'll all be counting the numbers. One last thing, you had said the 1,000 members, right? And you had said some people thought you just pulled that number out of your hat. But I was very impressed when you told me you needed a number to start and that was an industry standard that you did.
And like I said, when we were starting the other buildings, especially Gemini Center and Fairview, you have to start with the number. And most rec departments start with 10% of the population. So that's where that number came from. So, and again, there's current members there. I'm not sure of how many, but majority of those members are just tennis players. So my goal is to continue that tennis, hopefully keep those members as well and keep those programs going. As I said, tennis isn't going anywhere, but also to offer a state-of-the-art fitness center and more activities for the kids, as I showed you in my plan. So, and again, I guess I feel that, you know, if this, for some reason, I'll be the devil's advocate to myself. If it doesn't work and the community does not embrace it, I'll be standing up here 2 years from now because it definitely comes right back to the board and we would have to make a decision then. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Thank you. Other comments? Yeah, Mr. Budny.
First, I have to say I'm somewhat disappointed that because somebody might have a difference of opinion that they're a naysayer or something less than supporting the community. I thought that's really what the board was supposed to be about, that they were supposed to have different opinions on things. But I'll tell you, on this issue, this is one of the toughest issues I've had to think about in my 7+ years here. And I'll tell you why it's been so difficult. It's because of two people, Kim and there's Chad, those two people. I talked to them at length. I talked to John Rathel, and the enthusiasm and I believe the sincerity, I think it showed through here as Kim made her presentation for this. And there's a lot of good things that she said, a lot of good things. And and in fact, I was in communication with Mr. Nelson as late as yesterday. And he asked me, what do you think? Where you going? And I had to text him back and said, I don't know where I'm going with this. It's a tough issue. She provides some very good things. When I grew up on this island, we had a rec center. Then they tore it down and built a bigger rec center. Then they tore that down because it wasn't used by the people. So I looked and I'm trying to think, and I talked to Mr. Assorti about the operating agreement, and you go, there's a lot of pluses for this. Which way am I going to go? And the problem I have is not with what it's going to do, who it's going to serve, because we know rec doesn't serve 10,000 people. The ability is there for 10,000 to use it, but they don't. It's a small number compared to the whole, but rec is still important. So I look at the building, and I'm sorry, the building, for all the good and the history and this and that building is, to me, very uninviting. And we talk, Kim says, state-of-the-art gym in an uninviting building. You go in, there's tiles that are missing, tiles that are busted in half. And it's been said before, the paneling coming off the walls. It's outside, the siding's coming off. It's two colors. It's not inviting. And there's nothing in the budget to take care of that until down the road. What we're hoping to do here is somehow down the road have the money to pay for these improvements, which is fine, which in fact is good, that we're not going to go out day one and pour $500,000 into the building. I like that. But I look at a budget that is close to $300,000 the first year, and I see a number of things that we're just missing out of the budget. And this is an eggshell budget. One little thing goes wrong, doesn't happen like planned, and you're in a loss situation. We talked about the inspection. I'm big on inspection. I'm big on knowing what are we getting ourselves into. And going through with this and then having the inspection is just not good business. You know that before you go into a business situation. And I talked to the engineer, and he told me, very cursory walkthrough review, didn't look at anything in detail. So basically, we don't know anything about the building. The roof, he had to go back. He went back to his files. He didn't inspect the roof, as nobody said he has. He didn't. He looked up, and he's going on a theory that based on when this was put in, This is how long it should last. But we don't know what condition it's in. That gives me some pause. Not knowing, missing the employment taxes. Also, every budget we have here, your time of the employees is figured into the budget. There is absolutely, if you were to look at this, and on that theory, Kim wouldn't be spending any time at this facility. And we know that isn't going to be true. We know this is going to be her baby. She is going to make sure, if this goes through, she is going to make sure she's going to be there. But none of her wages and benefits is in this. And it should be, because that's how we do everything. With it not being there, it almost can't be there because it would put us in a loss situation. The 1,000 members gave me a problem. I talked to Kim. I found out, okay, I didn't, the way it was presented in our packet, 10% of the population. That wasn't really the answer. The answer was it's a national standard. Is that right, Kim? National? Yeah. So, right. And there's some kind of national standard or regional standard or something, but it was based on something. It was based on something. However,
all right, I think I understand your position.
Well,
I think you're not bringing up anything new, but I'm
summarize. I won't go.
Would
through.
You please?
To just summarize. I mean, I went through and I came up with 12 things, and it all has to do with the finances. And here's the bottom line: as a trustee, as a board, we are supposed to look out. We're supposed to be fiscally responsible. We're supposed to look out for the taxpayers' money. And looking at this, I see nothing but a loss for a very good idea. And that loss is the taxpayers' money, whether it comes from a reserve, whether it comes from a grant, whether it comes from fees. It doesn't matter where it gets paid from. Once that money comes into us, that is the taxpayers' money. And I have to look out for all the taxpayers, not just the taxpayers that are using the recreation department, and thus I would have to say I would be against this at this time. I would like us to put this aside, do a little more, put a little more time in on it, and see if we can make this work.
Okay, there's been the motion to table. I'll entertain a motion to table. Mr. Malvesto, is that your motion?
Either table or a full table it until a full inspection can be done. That would be my motion.
There's support?
I'll support that.
Okay, those in favor of tabling pending an investigation, or just those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion does not carry. Those in favor of approving,
that
motion doesn't carry.
It got a 2-0 of the people that voted.
Those not in favor of tabling, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
With that,
that's good.
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Bloetscher,
I might step into this for a moment. The question is, for me, a litmus test is, would I recommend this to a client? And there's a big difference between a purchase and a use agreement. Mr. Assorti has crafted a document that says that if the township board, and we ultimately are responsible for all the property down here, whether you want to call it Commerce Park, or whether you want to call it rec, or whether you want to call it airport, we're all responsible for this, and this comes with tax dollars. What Mr. Assorti has done is made it very clear that if at any point this board or the next board doesn't like the way this program is going, you bring it up to the board, and the board then rescinds, revokes, or takes whatever action is appropriate at that time. I had the pleasure of sitting in the meeting tonight, and Mike Jarecki brought up some very, very good points, as has the Civic Association, and that is your due diligence. Well, you do a lot of due diligence up front. When you go to a closing on the purchase of a business, or you go to the closing on the purchase of a property, whether it's home or commercial property. You do your due diligence by seeing if there are a number of environmental hazards there. Where is and where are the problems lurking that will come and make this untenable? You do that on purchases. We already own the property. We already operate the property. It is the township's. And the question is, what's going to happen with that building? I have lived here all of my 62 years. And when the Navy base was here, it owned and operated one of the largest indoor pools in the country. I learned to swim about 3 blocks from here, where we now have soccer fields. Navy base left here, closed in 1969. The township did not attempt to amend or maintain or to in any way, shape, or form take care of the facilities there. And in 3 years, that pool was gone. And Kim, I understand your point that a pool is a terrible money drainer. It's a certain sense of frustration and loss of revenue. And I'm not suggesting that we put a pool in there, but I'm suggesting we look at that lesson. This building cannot continue with $48,000 worth of rent being paid every year. Mike Duker has said that you cannot continue this property because that building has some serious issues in terms of maintenance that has been deferred, delayed, or simply not done because there hasn't been the money. Mr. Shade has had an excellent run in that building. He and all of the people that support him have provided some wonderful opportunities for young and middle-aged and old people for better than 2 decades. And I really think he's done a great job. But this building is now beyond $48,000 a year. When we looked at the buildings across the street, Greg Hornby came in and worked with the Commerce Park Commission and said, I think you ought to try and rent those out for X amount of dollars per square feet. Greg is on the Commerce Park Commission, and I haven't heard Greg say anything about how this property is being underutilized, overutilized, or can't be done better. In fact, when we come in with a recommendation that indicates you should be receiving about $3 a square foot for a facility, that's not far off from commercial rates and may in fact be low. The issue with this building, and I agree you need to do a great amount of due diligence when you look at examining the condition of the building, but I would support that as a no on this project if we were buying it without having done it. But we already own it. It's the community's, and you either use it or you're going to lose it. It becomes another monument like the swimming pool that's now under 6 feet of earth and you use for soccer fields. I'm an optimist, but I also recognize we are stewards of this property. We are stewards of the township's monies. These are taxpayer dollars. So one of 4 things are going to happen that Kim has laid those out. It's not going to go back to rec, so rec can then turn around and do something. Either it's going to be torn down, the rec center is going to be able to make this thing work with baby steps at first, or we're going to have to go ahead and do a third-party lease to somebody else, as we have been doing. Are you going to get more than $48,000 a year to preserve that building? I don't know. I don't think so. But I look at where this airport was 50 years ago when we had a Navy base that left. And the question was, what are we going to do with it? And it took a long time, but now Mike Duker has more than 50 commercial tenants in here. He has more than 50 pilots, as I'm understanding, that are leasing space and hangars here. We have all of this stuff that has happened because of a vision. Kim O'Farrell has a vision. It is not going to cost us a new millage. It's not going to cost us any kind of a bond. And it's not going to cost us drawing on the township's general fund. We will know in a very short time whether or not this project can work and whether or not it makes sense. And the township board, this board, the next board, and the next board, and the next board can go ahead at any time under the agreement that Mr. Assorti has drafted and say, Kim, thank you, but it's not working. We're pulling the pin, and we're either going to knock it down, look for a third party, or go in a different direction altogether. On that basis, because we're not buying it, we already own it,
let's do what Mike has said so eloquently. Let's take a good, long, hard look at this building. Let's see what needs to be done before we put a ton of money into it. But we're not going to have the money for 10 million or 15 million or 20 million for a community center, and nor should we. That's not money wisely spent. But let's go ahead, start this, and before we put serious money into this, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, let's have a study done on a building, but let's also take the steps right now to preserve the building. If you do not preserve it now, it's going to be gone. That's my analysis, and I would make that recommendation to any client on those terms for this cost, particularly when you have an escape clause that says, goodbye. That's where I stand.
Thank you, Mr. Bloetscher.
I have
Other
a
comments
question for
from the
Mr.
board?
Bloetscher, please. If
Briefly.
If the airport commission can't afford, if the $48,000 generated by the current tenant isn't enough for the airport commission to maintain that building, and I heard a figure, it was a third of what they would need to get in another lease. How is the rec department going to generate $48,000 a year for maintenance, and that's only a third of what the airport commission says it's going to take? I'm curious how they're going to come up with that money.
Mr. Duker, did you have something you want to say? Okay. We have before us an opportunity, Tom, to go ahead and utilize a building. We're not going to build a community center. That's not going to happen. But when you do your due diligence on a purchase, which is what everybody has been looking at tonight when they have said, well, we need to do this, we need to do that, and therefore I can't support it, or yes, this is going to be a great idea and I can support it. The bottom line is we already own the property. What are we going to do with it? The logical place right now for this, and maybe it's an experiment, and maybe it's an experiment that works and succeeds fantastically. The one thing that I see in here, we talked about Angela Secokis's dream and visions and her energy. I spoke with
Carl,
John
really getting way off base, off track.
Now, I want to answer your question, Tom. I spoke with Dale Ream. I spoke with Kim. And it's very, very simple. We either take this opportunity now or you prepare to knock it down because it's not going to last. But before we put any significant sums into it, I would go ahead and say we should start out by having a complete study on that building and see what's available and what can be done. There are legitimate concerns that are here, but I'm not prepared to just let this building go.
That's all I requested, Carl, was a motion to do an inspection before we go any farther. You just agreed with me, but you voted against me.
That's different. Mr. Treasurer?
The only thing I want to add to this, and it's not even a defense. Obviously, Mr. Shade paid the township $48,000 or $43,000 a year. He didn't work there for nothing. His daughter didn't work there for nothing. They paid the utilities. So obviously there's more to be made there than $48,000 a year. I personally feel, as our commission felt, that the building was grossly underutilized. It wasn't open for walking. It wasn't open for other events. Only tennis and a cursory amount of exercise equipment for the members. So we know the building can generate more than $48,000 a year. How much? Kim, you're on. That'll be you to prove one way or the other.
Treasurer Van Oz, there were walkers there in the morning, and people did use the exercise facilities.
Let's move this on here. I'm ready. Let's vote.
Can I-
Right.
can I say one
Mr.
thing?
Nelson, go ahead. Very briefly, please.
It's a contentious issue, I get that. Kim, question for you. The current rec budget that you have from the millage, you have saved X amount of dollars as a capital outlay for different things. Could any of that money be used if we had to fix something up in the new building? Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. All right. Those in favor of approving the facility use, operation, maintenance, and agreement between Groh Seal, Airport Commerce Park Commission, and the Groh Seal Community Recreation Commission for 9251 Groh Road, and furthermore to amend the Recreation Department budget to include the Community Recreation Center budget for revenue expenses dated March 9th, 2020. Mr. Bloetscher.
Aye.
Mr. Malvesto.
Hey.
Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
Mr. Budny.
Unfortunately, nay.
Clerk.
Aye.
Mr. Treasurer.
Aye.
Supervisor, aye. Thanks for the great discussion, the analysis. We have some work to do. Motion carries.
Dale has something he wants
Dale?
to add.
Mr. Riem.
Perhaps the last thing I should do is say anything after that lengthy discussion, but I just wanted to identify a couple things. That a lot of what was being said is accurate. We don't know an exact detail of a cost. We want to do a study. But we have an opportunity, which I want to thank you for, to create a community center at a relatively low risk. And when we started these conversations months ago, I was against it. I made Ms. O'Farrell, Mr. Duker, Mr. Rathel sell me on this idea. And if I wasn't comfortable and the township staff doing this as a benefit for the community, that you would be hearing that from me. And a lot of community centers don't make money and they need subsidies from some other part of the budget, but they all have construction debt. And here's our opportunity without that. And all the rumors, we're kicking this poor person out, we're going to spend $1 million, it's environmentally unsafe. Not true, not true, not true. The existing tenant negotiated with the Commerce Park Airfield Commission, and they didn't come to terms. So, no one was being kicked out. As far as the environmental studies go, we had Army Corps of Engineers been through this facility numerous times. I think 2007 was the latest study that did phase 1 and phase 2. And this facility was not identified as an area of concern. Does that mean there's nothing hiding in the corners? We don't know that. We ask to get in there, get set up, get started, work on a study over the first 2 years and come up with a 3 to 5 year plan, 5 to 10 year plan. And you had the commitment from the Commerce Park Commission and the Recreation Commission that if we get to a point where things aren't working, they'll be back to you. And I just wanted to reaffirm and assure that to everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Riem. Madam Clerk.
I know we're done discussing, but I think it's important to note that there is a difference between what Mr. Malvesto was saying and what Mr. Budny was saying, and Mr. Bloetscher was saying. And with Mr. Bloetscher's reasoning is we are going to use that building while we study that building. We are going to learn as we use that building. If anything seems like it's dodgy or coming to harm, of course we know we're not going to go forward. But we're not going to let that building stand fallow and continue deteriorating while we decide to make up our minds. We want to make sure that we have a viable building to work with.
Thank you, and I'm sure that the board is unanimous on that. We will improve it. It'll be safe. It'll be fully functional. Let's move on, and I get to introduce adoption of the 2020-21 township budget. The motion is to adopt the annual township budget for fiscal year 2020-21 as presented earlier this evening.
Support.
Okay, I'll give it. I'll give it to the treasurer. Okay, so moved by the supervisor. Questions, comments on tonight's budget from the presentation? Those of you who were there as we developed it, questions and answers.
Where did
comments?
our audience go?
Yeah, what?
This is the important
This
part.
is the important part of township business, and everybody's gone.
I may have to rethink mine. Look at, your rec brought the people.
Well, yep.
Not me again.
Okay. Those in favor of approving the budget as previously presented?
One comment on it. A budget, and I'm going through this for the 8th time. is in fact just a plan for us going forward. Now, there's things within the budget that I have questions about that I don't agree with, but this is the plan for the whole year for the whole township, and you have to look past those things the little things you don't like, and think of it as the whole picture. And I would hope that everybody here would do that.
Mr. Supervisor, I would welcome the opportunity to second that and thank Jim for his input.
Okay. With that, and exactly right. It's our plan as of today. It may change tomorrow. It will certainly change throughout the year as things happen or don't happen, but that's our plan, and we have dollars allocated against executing that plan. Those in favor of adopting the 2020-2021 Township budget as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We can stay in business. Which brings me to my next action item, to adjust the non-union employees' wages for the fiscal year 2020-2021 in accordance with the proposed non-union wage adjustment chart dated March 9, 2020, which includes a 1.3 cost of living adjustment and market adjustments for the chief of police, the amount of $7,252, the deputy chief in the amount of $8,732.87, and the police lieutenant in the amount of $6,454.31, a $2,500 one-time bonus for the police department executive secretary, and a $4,000 market adjustment for the recreation assistant. Moved by the supervisor, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss. And the background is simple. First of all, we have a new chief, a new deputy chief, a new lieutenant. They've been in the job for a year. It's time to get them up to where they won't be entertaining offers from other communities, because these guys are good, and they're worth it, and it gets them up to close to parity with what other communities are paying, and I want to keep these guys on board. That's, I'm sorry, a little personal side of this. At the bonus for the police department executive secretary, that's Ruth, and $4,000 for the recreation assistant, who Kim is working like a pack animal, and that's Annette. And I see Annette, she's working hard, and as your recreation offerings expand, her workload expands along with yours. But you're in the other chart. Anyway, other comments on this proposed pay raise? Market adjustment. Mr. Budny.
Just quickly, you know, the salaries, wages, benefits has always been one of my bugaboos. I don't agree with how we do them, but it's not an issue that is going to be changed. So I am in favor of this.
Thank you, Mr. Budny. Other comments from the board? Okay, with none offered, in an attempt to get out of here this calendar day, those in favor of adjusting the non-union employees' wages for the fiscal year 2020-21 in accordance with the proposed non-union wage adjustment chart, March 9, 2020, the 1.3% raise, the market adjustments for the chief, deputy chief, and the lieutenant, a bonus for the executive secretary, otherwise known as Ruth, and a $4,000 market adjustment for the recreation assistant, otherwise known as Annette. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We will be able to keep the staff. Let's see. Well, these are good people, and good people are getting harder and harder to find in the municipal world. Water's Edge Pool, Mr. Nelson.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion per the recommendation of the CRC, the Community Recreation Commission, vote and approve the Water's Edge pool heater bid to Aqua Pools in the amount of $11,161.54.
Yeah, I'll give this. Ted was a little bit faster, and he's
He's
the
quick
expert
tonight.
on
He's
heating,
quick
on
tonight.
boilers. So,
Fast?
oh no, just perfect. Kim, do you want to fill us in on Aqua Pools? Well, he can fill us in on what's here. So we used to like fill us in with the pool. It's a drain on the budget.
That's it. Now, my name's Phil Lab, and I'm president and CEO of Aqua Pools. We're out of Bath, Ohio. And what I proposed was two 406,000 BTU natural electronic pool heaters. Right now you have a 700,000 plus BTU pool heater. That's totally inefficient. So what the proposal was, we're going to place two 400s, and basically for spring startup, you'll be running both heaters. Once we get up to 84, 85, they'll be able to shut one down and save you a lot of money. So, Kim's, pardon me? So they're really strong heaters. They have 3-year warranties, super strong Cooper nickel heat exchangers, and just a real solid product. We put in hundreds of them all the time, and we've had great experience with them. So,
For the experts.
I got a
Mr.
question
Malvesto.
for you. Only because I know a couple people who put replaced pool heaters on their home pools, right? Only to find out that they didn't control the pH, the balance on the water, and it essentially rotted out the heat exchanger core.
Correct.
Is there any protection?
Yeah, they have automatic controllers at the pool, which automatically feed the chlorine and the acid for pH and chlorine control. And so I've taught Robert Sawyer, her assistant, how to take chemistry tests and how to adjust the chemicals.
But
so
everything's monitored by the controllers, and we have we document the chemical readings
Yes.
at least 4 or 5 times a
Right.
day. So
No, it's just something I've known a couple people have this issue. I just wanted to ask the question.
yeah, it's huge. I mean, pH will eat it up. But these heat exchangers that get eaten out, these are double walled, so they're a lot stronger. They can handle operator error a lot better.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, other comments, questions? With none offered, those in favor of, following the recommendation of the Community Recreation Commission, approve the Water's Edge pool heater bid to Aqua Pools in the amount of $11,161.54. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you for keeping our pools up and running.
Kim looks beat up.
Okay,
All right.
Mr. Budny, it's your show.
Okay, just let me get
This is gonna
all
be
the
real
paper-
exciting
Yeah,
stuff.
real exciting. Let me get all my, and I will call Derek up right away because we have a couple of things to talk about tonight. Yeah, but we'll start with this recommendation to the board, whereas and this is a resolution, so I will read it. Whereas the Wayne County Drain Commissioner has advised the Township of Groh Township Board that certain maintenance and repair is necessary to be performed on the Groh drain. And whereas the Wayne County Drain Commissioner has authority to expend up to $5,000 per mile or fraction thereof of drain in any 1 year for the maintenance and repair of the drain, and where it is estimated that the expenditures in excess of $5,000 per mile or fraction thereof of drain are necessary, those amounts may not be expended until approved by resolution of the governing body of each township. Township and village affected by more than 20% of the cost when combining the at-large apportionment and the total apportionment for private land within the Township of Groh pursuant to MCL 280.196 paren 5, and whereas the Wayne County Drain Commissioner has advised the Township of Groh board, Township Board, that it will be necessary to expend funds in excess of $5,000 per mile or fraction thereof of drain for the maintenance of the Groh drain. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township of Groh Township Board that pursuant to Section 196 of the Drain Code, the Wayne County Drain Commissioner is authorized to expend money for the maintenance and repair of the Groh drain in excess of $5,000 per mile or fraction thereof, and to the extent that the drain funds for the Groseal drain contains insufficient funds for the payment of costs incurred for maintenance or repair of the Groseal drain, then the Wayne County Drain Commissioner is authorized to levy a special assessment as allowed by law.
Wow.
Yes.
Support.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'm going to just turn it over to Derek on this. It's very basically, we have a drain problem. There's not enough money to fix it through the county. So the way to get the additional funds, and this is the normal way, is to have a special assessment on the homes that are affected by the drain.
Long story short, that's exactly what this is.
Just 1 second. Jim, would you repeat that for me, please?
How many people even knew there was a Groseal drain?
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead, Derek. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So on the map that you see overhead or on the projections here, this is the Groseal drain, this dashed line. There's a problem along this Groseal drain where you see that dot. The district that we're referring to for the special assessment is this dashed black line. There is a reference in the action item to the fact that when they looked at the special assessment roll, they identified that the district more than likely needed to be redrawn. That redrawn district, or the proposed district to be redrawn, is this pink line here, this dashed line. So the special assessment roll, the example of special assessment roll that was included in the action item, that will actually change. And I think it's the order of magnitudes, about 400 properties. It's listed in here, up north of 590 or something along those lines. So the draft assessments will actually come down some as we spread the special assessment, or the county spreads the special assessment across a larger number of properties. Those special assessment numbers are based upon property size and not based upon taxable value. So the greater the quantity of property that you own, the greater that assessment would be. It would be spread across 2 tax years and assessed in the winter tax rolls. The scope of the work was listed in the action item. The problems were listed in the action item. The bid tallies were listed in the action item. The actual work being performed by way of the low bidder was right around $20,000. The balance of what's being assessed is for the engineering, design, project management, all being done by the county. And then also there's a cost for the redrawing of the district. That's right around $8,000 to $10,000. So my understanding is that the Groseal drain, this drain here, is one of the only, if not the only, county drains on the island, aside from roadside drainage. That is why this is a Wayne County initiated program or project, and not something we would normally run through our drainage millage. We use that to address other drainage problems in the township where we don't have the county basically running this and doing the special assessments and contributing the minimal amount of money that the state allows them to have for drainage improvement work within townships. So, and obviously that is very inadequate, the amount that they collect. And I think you probably see that across the state. Groseal Township is no different. In dealing with the county, they just don't have the money to be able to do projects because these amounts they collect are very antiquated and old. So that's the long and short of things. There is a process to redraw this district, as is mentioned in the action item. This work or this approval can take place before that district is redrawn. It'll just adjust those amounts, and then there's a public notification process for the redrawing of this district, which would happen prior to this work being done. And the county would manage that notification, that public input process.
And Derek, I want to reinforce the redrawing of this district. It incorporates everybody that uses this drain.
Correct. So there's a percentage that you use this drain that's tied to your property based upon your land area. And when they redraw these districts, or when they draw these districts, not just redraw them, they actually review all the elevations. So they take a look through LiDAR, which is basically They fly over a set of properties with lasers from a plane, and they measure the elevations, where those elevations flow into this drainage course. Those are the properties that contribute to that drainage course, and thus they're part of that drainage district. So, 4. Yeah, and it varies by property, but we can take a look at that. And it was split into a couple different pages if you printed it out, so it might have been a little bit difficult to see. But depending upon your property, these are your total assessments. Now, the township does own properties within the district, so the township would be responsible for a portion of the work, as well as the at-large portion, which I believe is like 3.7%. The county's responsible for 3.7%, and then our share of that project cost would be in addition to that for those properties that we own, the township owns within the district. So here's your estimates and the affected properties. And once again, these totals are based upon the initial roll, not the new district roll that would come out of increasing the size of the district.
So we would expect those assessments
to
come down
Yep.
as we expand the size of the area being drained. Thank you.
So there's, by property, here are all the assessments, so.
Hey, Derek, humor me. On the map that you showed, I can pretty much make out Meridian, but what is the nearest north, the nearest main east-west north crossroad there? Is that Ferry, or I mean I can't make it out. Yeah. Just to the north. I'm assuming that's to the north. What's the nearest? What? So if you go all the way to the right,
Rucker.
Okay, this is
the other way.
Yeah, no, I know, but I was the northernmost cross street is what? Go the other way.
Can you move it here.
Keep going.
Go more. Go north. There you go.
All right. That where the arrow is right, where the cursor is right now. What is that? What's that? I'm trying to make
Sarah Court.
Sarah Court.
All right, so this would be, what's that, Park? Oh, that's Ferry. Okay, I thought it was Ferry. I just couldn't make it out.
Yeah, this is Ferry here.
Yeah, so pretty much everything.
Almost to Ferry.
Almost to Ferry, but pretty, it's going to be south of Ferry Road. Yeah. Okay, that's all. I couldn't make out the.
Basically between Ferry and Rucker.
Okay, it was a little fuzzy for me.
Yeah, it was me too until you could zoom in on it.
And from Parkway to Sarah Court to almost to Ferry is already there.
Yes,
they're going to be adding on from Parkway to Rucker.
Yep.
Has anybody told Doug Thiel that he's part of this?
He's into it for a couple $100, so. Right.
Full disclosure.
Yeah, he's working the election tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, I have to just, so I can answer this. What if the board votes no?
Then the work would not get done.
So what would be? We would have backups. It would just be more expensive in a couple of years in the future, or
right. So let's see if we can take a look at the photos. Yeah, so the faults that are shown here are the faults they identified when they did the CCTV work. To answer your question, the work would not get done. You'd see backups in backyards. The storm sewer system wouldn't work as intended, and obviously that's a concern with everything we've been dealing with drainage.
The flooding that we've been fighting with for the last year or so would just be worse. Okay.
Is this all right of way? Or is it actually through people's yards?
My impression would be that they have a utility easement in there, or at least the
an
ability
easement. It'd be okay.
Ability to access that. I don't think there are any legal issues there with accessing that area to do that repair.
I guess that's Wayne County's fight, not ours, right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. It's a little bit different for us because this is really a Wayne County action. We're being asked to facilitate for them. But I think that it's encouraging to see that they're at least doing some things.
Our duty is to approve an assessment.
Yeah, that,
Or our
actually, that does
responsibilities.
clarify exactly what we're doing. Other comments, questions from the board? None offered. Those in favor of, approving the previously read resolution allowing the Wayne County Drain Commissioner to levy an assessment on township residents affected by the Wayne County drain. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. Thank you, Derek and Mr. Budny.
Derek, don't move.
Even more exciting.
Yes, even more exciting than drain construction is sludge hauling. And Mike, thanks for coming up. So first of all, the motion is for that the Groh Township Board hereby award a contract to Gullet Sanitation for biosolids dewatering, hauling, and disposal for the calendar year 2020.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budny, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss.
I will give a quick summary here. Basically, as you know, every year we haul our sludge off the island, out of the wastewater treatment plant off the island. With the potential of the bridge closing down, we would be, if we did it at our normal time, we would be hauling it off in June, which wouldn't be good. So we're trying to get this taken care of now, where we can haul the sludge off in April, is my understanding. I'll let Mike and Derek talk about Gullet Sanitation. They're out of Ohio. They've been around a long time. They do this, and I'll let them fill you in more.
But I think all of you have met Mike Landis, our intern. So he's been working with us for a couple of months. One of the projects that I had Mike work on with me was the bidding of the sludge decanting and sludge hauling. So I'd like to take the opportunity to provide Mike with some experience in presenting this to you. So with that, the floor is his.
Excellent. Thank you, Derek. Every year here on the island, as Jim said, you need to get rid of the biosolids that you accumulate over the course of the year. And currently, it is sitting at roughly 400,000 gallons of biosolids that need disposed of this year. With the bridge closure coming up, as Jim mentioned, to do this over the Pay Bridge would unduly give us extra cost associated with removal of this sludge in this process. Gullet Sanitation was our low bidder, and we are asking that we provide the service contract to them. As you can see, we received 3 separate bids from Waste Management, Gullet Sanitation, and the Merrill Brothers Corporation, all with a variety of different cost and unit pricing. Gullet was the low bidder across all these platforms, and we seek to offer this contract to them with the board's approval.
So the dewatering, Gullet does the dewatering. We dewater to reduce the weight.
That is correct, yes. So they come on site, they dewater and haul off the sludge from the island, bringing the concentration down to a 6 to 9% water ratio, which is specified in the RFQ that is provided. And what that does is bring down the total mass and the transport costs of removing the sludge from the island itself.
Much of this dewatering, just as a reminder, and Jim and Ted are well aware of this, we're dewatering because of the reduced weights on the county bridge. Before it was cheaper just to run it off. Now, because of the weight restrictions, we'd have to run extra trucks. We dewater it, cut the weight down, and then haul the sludge. We want to get the sludge off before we have to run it, the additional mileage and toll costs across the toll bridge. So we're accelerating the program, but if we don't haul the stuff off, at some point the toilets don't flush.
That is correct.
That's one of those government services people just expect.
Or we'll be piling up the sludge on people's lawns or something to get rid of it.
Madam Clerk.
Just for the record, too, can you explain to the people watching what happens to the sludge when it leaves our facility? What does Gullet do with it? Is it reused? Is it incinerated? Does it use, some people say that's what they use for fertilizer. I don't think so, but can you tell us what happens to the sludge?
Yeah, so with our contract that we proposed with Gullet here, there used to be land application of sludge to a certain percent, but the disposal cost and method is to their discretion, I believe. Is that correct, Eric?
Yeah, it's got to go to a landfill. So
Yeah.
this material will be going to an approved landfill that can take biosolids. So there, as Mike was mentioning, there are a variety of different methods to dispose of the material. Land apply was one that's becoming less and less popular. Obviously, with our weight limits, that prohibits us from doing that. But in this case here, it's in the landfill.
Yeah, and just another point of just another note here is I've checked references with Gullet Sanitation. They have provided us with a myriad of references, of which Farragut County spoke very highly of them, and they are located in Peachtree, Georgia. Yep, City of Fox Lake, Illinois. John Thompson said that they performed their service as well, and they did it in a timely and professional manner. One of the peoples I spoke with today, his name is David Mudson with W&O Construction, and they've worked with Dan, who is the Gullet supervisor and manager of their systems, and he is on site. He comes, he talks, and he does. He's there to do the work. He's there to supervise, and he's there to get the job done. So he spoke very highly of him and have used him on multiple projects.
Daryl or Mike, could you just give us the three prices that we got? Because I think that this is significant for us to know.
Yeah, so the three prices received, the first one being from Waste Management, was $254,405. The second one was by Gullet Sanitation at $88,753.65. And the third was from Merrill Brothers Corporation, totaling $252,290.
I want to bring this up because there's such a difference in the price. And of course, when you see, here's two guys that are around 250,000, and this guy's 88, you go, yeah, that sounds good, but what are we missing? That's why we did so much due diligence into looking into the Gullet and talking to them and looking at their references, etc., because we wanted to make sure that they could deliver what they said they were going to do. And from everything we've done, it looks good to us. Certainly worth us putting forth this, and we're going to save a ton of money.
Yeah, and to Jim's point there, the methods proposed by these corporations, both Waste Management and Merrill Brothers submitted a document saying that they would use this to centrifuge the sludge, thus reducing the water concentration down to the specified amount. Gullet Sanitation, using a belt press, would be doing the same thing. End of the day, we want the sludge off the island. The means in which it's done is both achieved by their methods.
Other questions, comments? Got to be done. Those in favor of, at the recommendation of the.
I should end that. Thank you for saying that, because it hasn't been brought. This has come up before our next meeting. We're not having a meeting tomorrow. We won't have our meeting till April. And with that, we would have never made the April date, and we'd run into the bridge problem. So we're doing this. And it will, although I have talked, Derek's talked to every one of the commission members, they're all for it.
Yep, DPS, all the commissioners have seen the packet, have seen the bid results, and all of them agreed, as Jim had mentioned.
So then, based on an informal poll of the Public
Right.
Service Commission, the Groh Township Board hereby awards a contract to Gullet Sanitation for biosolids, dewatering, hauling, and disposal for calendar year 2020 in the amount of $88,753. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Once again, good job. Thanks for looking after
Thank
us.
you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Derek.
Huh?
Pardon? No.
Thank you.
Just thank you, Mike and Derek.
All right, this will come back to me. This was one of Angela's parting interest. Recommend the Groh Township Board of Trustees adopt a memorandum of understanding to participate in the Destination Downriver Coalition.
Support.
Well, I'll give this one to Mrs. O'Connor.
Thanks.
Got to spread the wealth here. But basically, the Destination Downriver Coalition, they send their boundaries of south of Detroit down to the Monroe County line, and it's an idea to brand this area with economic, recreational, and social opportunities that we have here, and to basically market this region. Macomb County has stronger marketing. The Ann Arbor markets itself. This is an opportunity for us to partner with a number of organizations, and it's at no cost. So we join, we get our name out there, and there's, I read through it. I was kind of hoping it would be a little more focused towards the river because it goes out as far as Romulus and beyond. I think we lose that downriver portion, but again, there is some strength in numbers too. So, questions for me? Angela could answer it much better, but she abandoned me.
She took the. I think the flowers were starting to wilt, and she had to get them home.
That's a good reason. Questions?
No, I don't have any questions really. Just a comment that I think anytime there is a coalition like this, and it's gonna brand the downriver area in whatever way it's going to be, whether it's all downriver or a good portion downriver, we got to take advantage of it. We need. I was just listening to the TV and listening to all these guys coming in for voting and everything. You hear all the places they're going. They're not coming downriver. Mm-hmm. Nobody's talking to us, and that's just one more thing that. It's just one more reason why we need something like this. That's it.
And for what it's worth, I said, well, how about the wildlife refuge? Sue White is, I want the word of my refuge. I want it spread far and wide, and this is an opportunity that benefits us too. So, it costs nothing. It gets Groh Seal out there, and with that, and any other comments before I move this along? Those in favor of adopting the MOU to participate in the Destination Downriver Coalition, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Thank you so much for supporting that. Mr. Budny.
What? Hang on just a sec. We have one more, and the last.
Equally exciting.
Equally exciting. What could be more exciting than an abandonment in place for the Meridian water main? And again, a resolution is necessary, so bear with me. Is recommended. We'd like the approval of the Groh Seal Township Board and with the following resolution. The Groh Seal Township Board hereby adopts the following resolution to abandon the existing water main in place. The requested segments are Upper Meridian Road from Voigt Avenue to Paulina Avenue, and Meridian Road from Groh Seal Parkway to Island Drive. Whereas the Township of Groh Seal, through its Public Service Department, the Township, desires to complete the aforementioned water main projects, the project, whereas the existing water main lines present great challenges to remove as the following conditions exist. Existing lines run under residents' front properties, under residents' driveways, will result in a significant impact to residents' front yards. The existing water main is running under existing ditches and culverts and will result in extreme cost to regrade ditches, replace culverts and driveways. The existing water main is running right under the existing gas lines. The existing water main is running close or under the road pavement. It will be a significant impact on traffic, and it will be costly to replace Class A road pavements. Existing water mains are running below floodplain, wetland, and under the thoroughfare canal. Whereas the township has requested an exception to the county's requirement, specifically the township has requested permission to leave the current water main lines in the ground, the current water mains, when new ones will be installed during the project. Whereas the the county is willing to grant the request in exchange for the township's agreement to adhere to specified duties related to current water mains. Now therefore be it resolved that the county shall grant the township exception to its requirement that unused utilities be removed in lieu of abandonment in place. Resolved that the county shall grant the contemplated exception to the township as related to the projects only, and be it further resolved that in exchange for the exception provided, the township shall maintain ownership of the current water main lines, to restore in a manner and condition acceptable to the county-owned road right-of-ways suffering damage arising from the current water mains. Under county permit, take action necessary to protect the public from potential injury or property damage arising from the current mains. Pressure grout the current water mains with flowable fill material. Remove, cause to be removed, or reimburse the county for removal of reconstruction, widening, or relocation project, and hold harmless the county with respect to any and all incidents or claims arising from the current water mains.
Very good. Very good.
And thank you for not having me redo this. Oh, Derek, there you are, like in the blink of an eye. Again, this is actually, we've done this before. It's the normal thing that has to be done. Leaving those old lines in place saves money, and as I read, it saves money just not having to take them out, but also saves money because of all the property damage that is done that has to be redone. They will be filled, so they'll just be like a solid piece in the ground. There's nothing going to be running through them when we get done. Derek?
This is for the proposed water main project that we've been talking about for a couple of months, the one that we bonded for, one that's actually out for bid right now. Those bids are due at the end of the month. Matter of fact, we have a pre-bid meeting, I think, on Thursday. And then, as Trustee Budny had mentioned, this resolution is actually the exact same resolution, with the exception of the road changes to one that was approved for the Park Lane water main that we just did. So there's no difference there. This is the same one we adopted probably about a year ago. So,
Derek, what is the material that you use? They talk about pumping grout in. What is the material it's actually used?
It's like
to
a
fill?
light concrete material. It's like a liquid concrete material.
It's the purpose is to flow it through, and then when it's done, when you have it full, it'll harden and just becomes a solid pipe.
It's like a watered down concrete. That way it flows, as the board member had
Gotcha.
mentioned.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, once the line is no longer in use and there's no water flowing through it, should it collapse, I'm assuming that through natural whatever, it should collapse. It could create an unstable and other problems, sinkholes and or whatever, that sort of
That's
thing.
possible, and also if it's filled with flowable filled material, everybody knows it's abandoned. When you come across it, when you dig it up, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 20 years from now,
All right.
you know it's not an active water main. You know that it's not something that's needed. You know it's an abandoned line. Yep.
It's not our sludge. That's not what we did with our sludge.
Might be a good place to put the sludge.
If it's biodegradable.
Okay, again, it's just part of doing business.
Yep,
part of
it saves
improvements.
cost to our residents by leaving these in place rather than pulling them out of the
I
ground.
see the county does prefer to remove, but under the circumstances, phenomenally expensive, very disruptive. Other comments from the board? None offered. Those in favor of adopting the previously read resolution to abandon existing water main in place, segments of Upper Meridian, Voight, Paulina, in preparation for or as a part of the Meridian water main project to abandon in place, and flowable grout, pressure grout to seal it in perpetuity. Gosh, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That, holy cow, that's it.
Thank you for your support tonight.
Wow.
Well, it's been a very productive evening, ladies and
Oh, we're not done.
We're not done. Madam Clerk, we have an election going on as we speak.
Election going on as we speak. But I guess I can point out that as much as people have been talking about early voting, the fact in a primary season, it's not necessarily a great idea. As candidates pull out, people are unclear of what they should do. I think Brian has been very proactive in getting the message out to our voters that if they are unhappy with the choices they made or their candidate dropped out of the race, that they could surrender their absent voter ballot and come in and either get a new ballot or vote on election day at the precincts, right? If you surrender your ballot, or you have to get another. Okay, but you can't say, "Oh, I'm just not going to vote absentee anymore."
You can't just. Oh.
The expert knows.
Only if it was. This doesn't work either. Only if they had not voted their ballot yet.
Okay.
So on election day they could come in with a unvoted ballot and turn it over. Or if they didn't receive their ballot, if it was destroyed in any way, then they could vote on election day. But any other way, if they voted that ballot, they would have to spoil it and get a new one, or
spoil it,
or just Well, I mean, basically, we would just accept it. I mean, that would be it. So,
as they voted it. So I think you put out some numbers on Saturday about how many, but I don't have my Instagram up.
I do know. Absentee voting for one was 955. So
That's
you're
part of the clerk's report. So don't steal my thunder.
I'm sorry, but I have to get to bed because I got to count tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be here earlier than you. On Saturday we had 48 new voters, or 48 absentee voters, I should say. And 53 total voters because we had 5 people come in and spoil their ballot and get a new one. And then I think we had 3 new people register. I know we had probably 5 or 6 people register today. Our spoils are up around 80s, somewhere around there. We've had about 80. And then today, I don't know, we probably had another 70 people vote today. It was a very big day. So as soon as I put the push out, all of a sudden they came storming through the door. Elena looked at me like, "Why put that push out?" I was like, well, that's what we do.
That's the nature of the push. So the election starts tomorrow morning. We do have voting precincts open for people to walk in. They start at 7 a.m. and they close at 8 p.m. He's testing me. That's just what he's doing. The polling locations are as follows. Precincts 1 and 2 are at the Presbyterian Church on the north end of the island. Precinct 3 is located at St. James Episcopal Church, and Precinct 4 is at Centennial Farm. If you are not yet registered to vote, you can still register on Election Day. You have to register in person in the clerk's office by 8 p.m. You must show proof of where you live. Documents must have your name and current address. You can show a digital copy of documents. Acceptable documents include a Michigan driver's license or a state ID card, a current utility bill, a bank statement, a paycheck or government check, or other government document. After registering, you can then vote an absent voter ballot, or you can vote at a polling place. Here's the dramatic moment. Mr. Budny is volunteering to work as a poll inspector in an absent voter counting board. Well, not volunteering, we do pay our poll inspectors. We have had 2,250 absentee ballots, which, according to Mr. Friel, is 130% more than the 978 that we had in the 2016 presidential primary election. Now, the big question is, are these all the people that are going to vote? Because this is a higher number of voters than we've had in many elections. or has pretty, will there be more turnout in the precincts tomorrow?
Well, in 2016, we had 3,800 voters total. So we will have some people in the polls tomorrow, which is a good thing.
Well, I'll be one of those. I like to vote in person. One of the fun things on Saturday, being here in Township Hall as people were coming in to drop off absent voter ballots, was seeing that some of the kids I taught when I was at Building Blocks Preschool are now of voting age. So that's a reality check, I'll tell you. Well, and now that you say that, I do want to do a little personal shout out to my nephew Max and his wife Aubrey. They had their daughter on last Monday. She is now a week old and just as adorable as can be, little Charlotte Danielle. And the whole family is just absolutely over the top with happiness on that. I'm going to end the report there. Make sure you go out and wash your hands frequently. Don't touch your face.
Bumps, yeah. Foot bumps, all sorts of. Was it Grossatanta? Was that?
Grossatanta.
Grossatanta. Very good. Great Aunt Uta. Mr. Treasurer.
Thanks, Brian. For the month of January, Gross Hill Township had a total of $19,468,266 invested in various accounts. You can view those accounts on my website. They earned interest income of $26,924, which is an average interest rate of 1.06. More detail and more information is available online on Treasurer's Link. All 2019 unpaid real property taxes are now considered delinquent and must be paid to Wayne County with penalty. Wayne County online payment link has the current 2019 delinquent tax information. Payment can be made to Wayne County online, by mail, in person at the International Center building in downtown Detroit, or at the Wayne County kiosk, which is located at the Sunoco Brownstown, located on Sibley Road, right by I-75. All delinquent personal property taxes for local businesses are to be paid to Gross Hill Township. Statements will be sent by our office in early April for those businesses with delinquent property tax, delinquent personal property tax. The Gross Hill Treasurer's Office has begun to compile the tax rolls to balance and settle all the 2019 tax rolls with Wayne County. As of March 1st, 2018, we have collected 97% of the total 2019 tax roll. Distributions will be made in a timely fashion. The Commerce Park Commission meets next Monday here in this office, and I have nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We'll move on to trustee liaison reports. Start, Mr. Budny.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Very quickly, no DPS meeting this month. Our next DPS meeting will be the second Tuesday in April. We do have a ZBA meeting this month. We have one appeal, so it won't take a lot of your time. Come on down and watch us. And last but not least, our Q&A meeting, our question and answer, will be March 25th. That's a Wednesday. It'll be here in the boardroom at 6 o'clock, promptly starting at 6 o'clock. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Buddy. Mr. Malvesto.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. In the interest of time, and we are getting on into the wee hours of the night, I'm going to keep it short. Number one, I'd like to thank the board for its support in Fire Marshal Deputy Chief Beaudry and appointing him approving him to be our next fire chief. I don't believe that. In fact, I believe in all my heart that Russ Beaudry will do a fine job. He will not let us down. So thank you very much for the support. If there's no objection by the board, would it be improper of me to mention about the fish dinners?
I think this is a good time. Hopefully more people or some people are still watching.
Yeah, to those of you who are still awake, we've gone. The Knights of Columbus are doing their annual Lenten fish dinners. The first 2 weeks, the first night was 594 served. I believe last week was a bit less. I think it was like 534, 535. I want to tell you, you will not find a better fish dinner in the entire southeast Michigan area. You're going to eat off of real dishes with real silverware and real glassware, and the variety of fish, as well as pierogies and mac and cheese, soups. They're excellent. You won't be disappointed. Please come and join us. We serve from 4 o'clock until 7:30. Unless the food runs out, there will be live entertainment, and it will be at the Sacred Heart Church. So please join us, and it all goes for a good cause. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Malvesto. Let's Mr. Nelson.
Very quickly, March 18th is the Festival Commission meeting at 7 o'clock in this room. And on March 26th, the Rec Commission meets in this room at 6 o'clock as well. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Bloetscher.
Mr. Supervisor, it's almost 11 p.m. I'm going to reserve my reports for our next meeting.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bloetscher.
Thank you, Mr. Bloetscher.
Mr. Sorty? Wave off, Mr. Mr. Ream?
Oh.
No report.
Oh boy. Well, I'm almost no report. Normally, I would turn this over to Angela, let her wrap up, but she covered her DDA plans, and we will be looking for a replacement. I want to first of all thank our finance director, the managers, chiefs, department heads, and the board for the budget and our plan going on to the next year. I got an anonymous letter, kind of scathing. Why are the fire marshal and the fire chief driving company vehicles during the day and doing mundane tasks like getting their hair cut? So the short version is these guys are on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I want them in their township vehicles because even if, if Russ is getting his hair cut and he gets toned, he's going to go out with half a haircut, get in his vehicle, and rescue, fight the fire. Same with the chief. They're the only two full-time personnel we have, and I want them taking their vehicles and trying to schedule their lives around their jobs or their jobs around their lives. But that's why they're in their vehicles. I want them in their vehicles.
Brian, real quick.
Yes. That wasn't your letter, was it, Jim?
No, but what troubles me is people can't sign their name. I hate anonymous. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to get it out because maybe some people feel that way. That's why I want them in their vehicles. They're always on duty. What you see on the overhead is the page from a Great Lakes Scuttlebutt. The boaters here know what that magazine is. It's free. It's supported by advertising and the promotions. I got a cold call from Savannah Hess. She'd like to do Destination Grow Seal. Angela and I put together a walking commentary. I'll have copies. The copies are available various boating places and yacht clubs on the island. I'll make some available. But it was an opportunity to once again promote the community, and hopefully, if all our marinas aren't underwater, we'll have some boaters come visit us and say this is a neat place, because this is a neat place. And Savannah did an excellent job. She dug a little deeper, got some more pictures, and it really is a neat article. So I'll make sure those copies are available. I just want to throw out there, I've been watching the election preps for the last several days. I have seen no Russians interfering with any of the activities, so Mr. Friel's done a good job scaring them away. Border review continues, was today and will be tomorrow in the evening. Yes, on Election Day. It's a statutory date. The fact that we have a primary coinciding is it's a statutory date, has to be on the first Monday of the month, and that's what it is. So, going on, I made a ride down to Fort Wayne, picked up 1,000 sandbags from the Corps of Engineers. We'll be making those available in the weeks or so to come. And I believe we're meeting with the county and some of the contractors tomorrow on the status of the bridge repairs. We will have more information hopefully we'll have more information at the completion of that meeting. That'll conclude my report. I don't see anybody left from the public, but I'll open it up to public comment. None offered. With that, I have scheduled a closed session. Can we make it presumably a short closed session? Mr. Assorti says yes. So I'll ask for a roll call vote. We need a 2/3 vote to go to closed session. Mr. Bloetscher?
Aye.
Mr. Nelson?
Aye.
Madam Clerk?
Aye.
Mr. Treasurer? Supervisor, aye. Mr. Budny?
Aye.
And Mr. Malvesto. With that, we will adjourn the regular meeting temporarily and go to closed session. Yeah, we'll go. We could chase everybody out and shut off the